Okay, for years there have been many crossover games in history. We've had Street Fighter Cross Tekken, Tekken vs. X-Men, and of course one of the greatest crossover series ever, Marvel vs. Capcom. Now understand, crossover titles have been around for decades, so this topic isn't anything new, and the idea of superheroes getting into fighting games, that's always been something cool. But what happens when things get divided? When you try to cross over a franchise that could work if done right, but you gotta go all out to make it happen? Well, that's exactly what Mortal Kombat had to learn back in 2008. It was an experimental time for the franchise. They were trying to make their mark on the 7th generation of gaming. Armageddon had just wrapped with the original timeline and left fans divided. But this game, this one, left some fans stunned. Welcome to episode 11 of the Mortal Kombat Takeover. Today, it's a crisis on Infinite Realms with Mortal Kombat versus DC.
Finish her! Finish him! Fatality!
If you're new to the channel, welcome. And if you're a returning viewer, welcome back. I'm glad you're here. As we get closer to wrapping up the Mortal Kombat Takeover, I've still got a few more projects dropping before the year ends. So if you're not subscribed and you enjoy retrospectives, don't worry, there's still an abundance of content on the way. But also, I got a question for you, the viewers that tune in every week. If you didn't know, I like to plan my videos a year in advance, and I've been thinking about the next takeover for next year. So far, it looks like we've already agreed on a Naughty Dog takeover, and I'm excited to jump into that company. But I want to know, what other takeover would you be feeling? Some folks mentioned Street Fighter. I was originally thinking Batman or even Spider-Man. So after this video, head to the comment section and let me know what you're thinking. I want some real, genuine ideas for the channel. With that being said, let's dive into this. Okay, if this is your first Mortal Kombat video, here's a quick recap to catch you up. Back in the 90s, Capcom dropped one of the most legendary fighting games of all time, Street Fighter II. Midway, a well-known arcade company, saw the success Capcom was having and wanted to compete in the fighting genre. So, they approached Jean-Claude Van Damme with an idea, turn Bloodsport into a fighting game franchise, originally titled Kumite. But due to scheduling conflicts, Van Damme turned it down. After that, Midway had another opportunity on the table. A young graphic artist and a young programmer, both from Chicago, made a pitch. It was originally declined, but once Van Damme passed on the project, the pitch got greenlit. And from that moment, the most controversial fighting game in history was born. That game, Mortal Kombat. Once Mortal Kombat hit arcades, it sparked massive controversy, so much that it had played a major role in the creation of the ESRB. So if you were ever a kid who couldn't buy an M-rated game, yeah, blame this one. Shout out to Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes. That video's coming soon. While politicians and angry parents tried to shut it down, Midway learned the hard truth. Publicity, whether good or bad, is still publicity. That attention helped Mortal Kombat 2 become the highest selling arcade game in 1994. It was a massive success, but behind the scenes, cracks were starting to show. When Mortal Kombat 3 dropped, several fan favorite characters were missing. Why? Because the actors who portrayed them tried to sue Midway over royalties. Only one actor reached a settlement. The rest were cut. That's why Mortal Kombat 3 was eventually re-released as Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 and Mortal Kombat Trilogy, bringing more characters back. Even with all the behind-the-scenes drama, the franchise was still doing well, until what fans call the fall. And by the fall, I mean the fall of '97. That year, Mortal Kombat released Mortal Kombat Mythologies, the Mortal Kombat Annihilation movie, and then the long-awaited Mortal Kombat 4. Now, MK4 was the first 3D game in the series. These days, it's remembered as a cheesy classic with some of the funniest cutscenes ever.
Going somewhere, Jarek? Jax! I thought you were going to... Thought I was what? dead, like my partner you just tossed off the cliff? I'm sorry, Jax. Please, don't drop me. Wait, I promise. Too late, Jarek. You can't drop me. You have to uphold the law. You have to arrest me. Wait, this is brutality. You can't do it. Wrong, Jarek. This is not a brutality. This is a fatality.
Kitana?
Yes, Liu Kang, it is I.
But I thought you were gonna lick.
With Shinnok's destruction, you have not only saved the Earth, but you've also saved my own realm.
But at the time, it was still a commercial hit. It really divided fans. Then, in 1999, no one expected what would come next. John Tobias, one of the original creators of the franchise, left the company to start his own studio. After that, Mortal Kombat dropped what many consider one of the worst games of all time, Mortal Kombat Special Forces. It flopped hard, critically, commercially, everything. Because of that, Mortal Kombat went on ice for a bit. Then came the comeback. In 2002, Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance launched and rejuvenated the entire franchise. This marked the start of the 3D era for Mortal Kombat, which delivered a string of hits. Deception was the peak of this generation. Even Shaolin Monks, the franchise's first and so far only successful spin-off, made waves. All of this led to the grand finale, Mortal Kombat Armageddon. Now, while this game wasn't awful, it definitely went heavier on quantity over quality. It had every single Mortal Kombat character packed into one game. It was basically Mortal Kombat Trilogy 2.0. And with that, you're fully caught up on Mortal Kombat up to this moment.
My name is Ed Boon. I am the project lead for Mortal Kombat Armageddon, which comes out October 2006 for the PlayStation 2 and Xbox. We're really trying to wrap up the whole Mortal Kombat story because this is the last Mortal Kombat on this generation of consoles. So we're really trying to end a lot of things, end the story, end the whole feature set, and everything in terms of like the new, everything you knew about Mortal Kombat, we're kind of ending with this one right here. You know, for future Mortal Kombats, we're going to have a completely wipe the slate clean. We're going to have, you know, brand new characters and all that stuff. So this is really kind of like the culmination of all the Mortal Kombats. Armageddon is going to contain every Mortal Kombat character from MK1 all the way to Deception. So all the boss characters that you've seen before, Goro, Motaro, Shao Kahn, everybody that, you know, a lot of characters you couldn't play as before are now playable characters in the game. Yeah, well, in addition to having every Mortal Kombat character, we thought like the next obvious thing is to let players create their own characters. And we've really taken that whole create a character idea a lot further than other fighting games have, because we've really taken letting you obviously name your character, define the character's look, but also define the character's fighting style, name the character's fighting style, and select every animation for each button. So it's a very intricate create a character feature. And what's really cool about it is we also let the players take their character online to see how they fight against other characters that people from across the country might have created. Fatalities in all the previous Mortal Kombat games have been a very passive thing. You do the button combination and then you watch the show. And in Armageddon, a fatality is really just kind of broken up into a bunch of mini fatalities. So every character is a whole bunch of fatalities that he can perform, but then the order of which you fire them off is up to you. So we can, like, you know, tear the guy's heart out, then tear his ribs out, and then break his neck, and then tear his head off in any sort of combination that you want. So it's a lot more of like a custom fatality than we've seen in any previous Mortal Kombat. Yeah, Conquest Mode has taken some very big leaps forward in terms of graphics and gameplay. You know, the player can not only just run around and interact with the NPCs, but they can also get into fights. So it's you get into fights with like multiple enemies, and it has its own fighting mechanic, you know. So there's weapons you can pick up, cut up a bunch of enemies at the same time, and also with the story progression, it lets you interact with them, unlock hidden secrets, and all of the kind of single-player features that we've had in the previous Conquest Mode. All the Mortal Kombat games that were 2D, there was a lot of emphasis on, you know, combat in the air. So you can actually jump in the air, jump over fireballs, jump over your opponent and try to kind of confuse them there. And when we went to 3D, everything was kind of leveled down onto the ground. And we've reinstated kind of that whole 2D element of it. So you jump around kind of like you did in Mortal Kombat 1 and 2, but then you can also do combos in the air, parries in the air, breakers in the air. Anything that you could do on the ground, you could basically do in the air, and that really kind of opens up the whole fighting mechanic to be a lot more unpredictable than the previous Mortal Kombat games. Okay, the name of the game is Mortal Kombat Armageddon. It's coming out for the PlayStation 2 and the Xbox in October of 2006.
Talks about the next Mortal Kombat started making waves in 2007. Ed Boon spoke with Game Informer about Mortal Kombat 8, saying it would be developed using Unreal Engine 3. He got inspired after seeing Epic Games' showcase of Gears of War. That game changed his entire direction for Mortal Kombat 8. His first thought? Scrap everything from the PS2 era and start from scratch. In an interview, he stated, "We're not going to have 3 fighting styles. We're not going to have the same punches and kicks and the same kind of control scheme. Everything is getting trashed. We're reinventing everything from the ground up."
For next gen Mortal Kombat will definitely be, darker, grittier, more photorealistic, nuances to ridiculous levels, and a whole new completely fighting engine. Our goal is to really just, again, wipe the slate clean and just kind of start anew with this generation of hardware.
Now, while he was vague about the project, he did confirm it would be released on the next generation of PlayStation hardware. He even hinted at a late 2008 release window. But then in 2007, a plot twist happened. Mortal Kombat 8 got scrapped. Apparently, behind the scenes, Midway has signed a deal with DC Comics. This would now become a crossover game. Rumors about the deal started leaking around September 2007, claiming the next Mortal Kombat would include DC characters. Soon after, a trailer dropped showing how the game would look. It featured Batman and Sub-Zero fighting in midair. Now, there was definitely some worry, especially about DC's strict rule against anything fatal, but the team stayed optimistic about the project. In an article from Engadget, they wrote, "The high-impact mid-air fight between Sub-Zero and Batman seems a little out of character for the Dark Knight, who's always been more about calculation and strategy than all-out hand-to-hand combat. We were also a little worried about how the DC hero's long-standing prohibition against killing is going to match up with the Mortal Kombat series' famously fatal fatalities. But these kind of academic nerd concerns are hard to maintain when watching the concentrated 360 and PS3 fueled awesomeness on display in this video." Now, let's be real, there were some challenges when it came to announcing this game. And for my viewers who might not be into comic books, just know this. DC is not known for being graphic or fatal. Even IGN raised eyebrows asking, can Batman die in this game? Can Superman pull off a fatality? These were valid questions because at that time, Mortal Kombat and DC were playing in very different leagues. Eventually, GamePro got a hold of Ed Boon and asked him about the reaction to Mortal Kombat vs. DC. How did fans feel about it? Ed Boon kept it real. To be blunt, I think the initial reaction was pretty negative. I would say at least 70% negative, 30% positive. I think the fans felt that you're messing with my baby, and DC is known to be a little more of a Boy Scout, clean-cut label. Marvel is even a little more edgy than DC. We have Superman, Wonder Woman, The Flash. They aren't exactly known killers. Batman's darker, but still. So we made the announcement for Mortal Kombat vs. DC, posted a quick teaser video, and gave no information. So everybody assumed that a team rating meant no blood, no fatalities. I think some fans filled in the gaps in their head, even though there's a ton of blood and fatalities in the final game. Add that to internet discussion, and the whole thing took a life of its own. But once we started releasing gameplay videos, letting folks play the game at E3, Leipzig, and Comic-Con, we saw a complete turnaround. It seems to me that the feedback is about 90% positive now.
I'm here with Ed, who's the creative director for the new upcoming game, Mortal Kombat vs. DC Comics, which I have to say looks exciting. Can you tell us a little bit about the premise of the game?
Well, you know, Mortal Kombat has existed since 1992, and we've been lucky enough to make a whole number of sequels, and we really wanted to kind of shake things up with this Mortal Kombat. So we introduced the DC Universe characters into it, and now, you know, you're going to see Batman and Sub-Zero, Superman and Scorpion. All on the screen at the same time. It's kind of like one of those what-if scenarios. You know, who could beat up Underdog versus Mighty Mouse?
Get the fuck over here! You suck.
You know, something like that. So we have like a very dark, serious presentation of that what-if scenario where we combine those two universes together.
And what made you go with picking DC Comics versus another entity?
We had a number of discussions about trying to mix Mortal Kombat with different fighting games or different licenses, and this opportunity was presented to us. And we thought about it. We thought, you know, what would be our challenges in creating this? But ultimately, you know, kind of like the magic of seeing Batman and Sub-Zero on the screen at the same time kind of prevailed over everything, and that's when we kind of decided, okay, we're going to run with it.
Okay, and how was it coming up with all of these different concepts for the new moves for the DC Comics? You know, since you already have the Mortal Kombat characters down, you got to come up with a whole new fighting style for them.
Yeah, you know, it was the easiest thing in the world. I mean, everybody knows, you know, Batman has the Batarang, he has all these gadgets. Superman has heat vision, the cold breath, he can fly, you know, all of these things. So these characters have, their abilities are, you know, pretty much already written out in front of us. All we had to do was kind of make special moves in a fighting game for them. And so that was actually one of the easiest parts of the game.
Okay, awesome. And who's your favorite character to play?
From the DC side, my favorite character right now is the Flash, and from the Mortal Kombat side, it's Scorpion.
And when can we expect this game to come out?
Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe comes out in November of 2008 for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360.
Now, for my comic fans out there, it's important to note this game was designed to be a greatest hits for both Mortal Kombat and DC. Midway brought their best and DC brought theirs. But here's the thing, what worries me a little is that Ed Boon wasn't that deep into DC lore. My man didn't even know who Lobo was. Now, granted, this was 2008, before Young Justice, before the expanded DC animated universe really took over. Keeping it real, this was 3 years before the New 52 and Batman Arkham Asylum didn't even come out yet. Boon was asked about characters who got left out, and he explained there were regrets on both sides. He said, from the Mortal Kombat side, Kung Lao and Reptile. From the DC side, we had a lot of debates. Some people wanted Lobo in the game, but I don't even know who that is. At one point, a staff member wanted Aquaman in the game, and now he feels it would have been a mistake. We also considered the Martian Manhunter, Green Arrow, and so on. But we looked at the game as a greatest hits lineup for both Mortal Kombat and DC. Deathstroke isn't as well known, but he's darker and looks like a ninja, so he's in. And the original reason I wanted the 1940s era hero Captain Marvel in the game was to include a special move where you could turn into Billy Batson, Captain Marvel's underage alter ego. But then we thought, boy, if Superman was beating up on a little kid, to me, Captain Marvel is one of the nice surprises in the game.
The next Mortal Kombat, the next generation Mortal Kombat game, for quite a while, several months, 8 months,
before we even were proposed with the idea of doing the DC Universe kind of crossover thing. We knew that we wanted to kind of have more of a dark, less saturated colors, you know, a little more gritty kind of presentation of the game. Once we got into the DC universe, certain things of like, you know, the fatalities and, you know, certain technology didn't have to be done with the fatalities because we weren't going to be going as far in terms of with the violence and decapitations and all that stuff like that. So it did affect some of the technology. I've always wanted to cross Mortal Kombat over since about Mortal Kombat 4 or something like that. You know, I'm a big fan of all of the other fighting games, Street Fighter, Tekken, whatnot. And, you know, I always thought, wouldn't it be cool to have, you know, Mortal Kombat versus Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat versus Tekken. We always kind of ran into some kind of roadblock and couldn't do it. So kind of in the end, the whole idea of the whole magic of having Batman and Sub-Zero on the screen at the same time doing the moves against each other kind of prevailed over everything else. We don't want to lose the kind of spirit of what Mortal Kombat is. You know, very brutal, very intense. Mortal Kombat versus DC, it's not just a DC game. So we want the spirit of Mortal Kombat and the spirit of DC. I think whether we call them fatalities or not, I guess is the question. That maybe they're just called finishing moves or something. But, you know, in terms of like, you know, some big event that you can do at the end of a fight to finish your opponent, I think that's a high probability. I don't think we ever said, okay, now can we rip Batman's head off? You know, we didn't even bother, you know, asking that. And with this game, we're probably going to have about 20 characters, you know, and I think that, you know, because every one of the characters, we're not introducing any new characters. Every single one is a known DC character, a known Mortal Kombat character, because they're so kind of iconic. The last game we had weapons. The last game we had, you know, this. We're not going to do any of that stuff. So we're probably not going to have weapons in this game. We're not going to have changing fighting styles and whatnot. It's probably just going to be the new features that we've introduced with the fighting modes, where it's you have, you know, you hit somebody over a building, they're falling down. As they're falling, you get to fight while you're falling down. That's kind of like a new fighting mechanic. You land and you go back to normal fighting. I grab you, pull you in, and then the camera zooms in, and it's like a kind of like a boxing perspective. You know, a whole new boxing mechanic and boxing mode. Boom, I knock you out of it, and then we go back into the normal fighting. So you're going to be kind of in and out of these different fighting modes as you play the game. We're going to, you know, maneuver around people. We have, you know, our backgrounds have, you know, areas that you can knock people off. So we want people to be able to maneuver. Mortal Kombat is kind of based on magic. There's supernatural, you know, there's sorcerers, there's the Netherrealm and all that stuff. And Superman, you know, his two weaknesses are kryptonite and magic. So when you kind of merge the two realms, he kind of gets a little weaker. The other characters get stronger, and it becomes more of an even balanced playfield. The game is going to come out the fall of 2008, you know, probably around November, and it's going to come out for the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3.
Now we're going to talk about something that's probably going to come up in my next video. Ed Boon was even asked about the darker, grittier Mortal Kombat 8. He confirmed that we'd still be getting another mature Mortal Kombat game down the line. That gritty reboot he teased, it was still on the way. But yeah, the fact that Mortal Kombat vs. DC got a teen rating definitely left some fans uneasy. Ever since its inception, Mortal Kombat has always been known as a mature-only game, but Midway was confident the game could still be successful even with a more family-friendly rating. And here's the real curveball, something we hadn't seen in years. John Tobias, co-creator of Mortal Kombat, actually returned to work on the comic book adaptation that came bundled with the Mortal Kombat vs. DC Collector's Edition version of the game.
I've known John Tobias since I was 18. When I first met or saw him at art school, he was the guy who was already doing what I wanted to do.
For Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe, I'm illustrating the Collector's Edition comic book. And that came about when Ed Boon actually gave me a call and asked me if I'd be interested, and my answer was yes.
We've kept in contact with John over the years, and you know, we have lunch every once in a while and stuff. So, but we haven't worked with him in over 9 years. So, you know, we were excited over the prospect of having John do our comic book. John is a great reputation with Mortal Kombat. He hasn't worked on a Mortal Kombat game in quite a while, so the timing just seemed perfect. It seemed like something that was destined to happen in my eyes.
When I was approached about doing the comic book, I had a lot of ideas, obviously. Thinking about all the different characters and how they could potentially relate to each other was fun. For this particular comic, the MK guys were interested in seeing all of the characters represented in some way in the book. And so it took a lot of back and forth to try to squeeze everybody in there. This sort of started out, as anything does, with a conversation about what direction we wanted to go. And I spoke with John Vogel on a number of occasions about what he wanted to do with the story.
Having John back in some form in the Mortal Kombat world is awesome. I'm glad he's doing this comic book. When we did the first Mortal Kombat, we made a comic book as well. John drew it, he wrote and drew the comic book. I colored some of it, he colored some of it. John Tobias created everything that I've been working on for the past, 10, 15 years. And for him to come back and then, see what I've done and go, okay, yeah, that's cool, and that's an interesting way to go, and to collaborate with him again is really, it's amazing. It's a nice feeling.
I haven't touched Mortal Kombat in a long time, and so having an opportunity to sort of revisit the characters was very exciting for me. Drawing them came naturally. I mean, the moment that I started sketching the interior of the collector's edition comic book, everything just sort of came right out. It felt like I was at home. Being able to draw the Mortal Kombat characters along with the DC characters, for me, has been a dream come true. It's something that I would never have envisioned happening when we created the series, back in the early 90s. And so being able to participate has been a lot of fun, and I enjoyed working with the guys again on the product. And like I say, it has been very enjoyable, and I think I'm very happy with the end result.
For development, they were able to bring in actors to portray different characters, some who really knew their DC lore and others who didn't. But I can say this honestly, the motion capture actors had a blast working on this game. While fans on the outside were worried about how this crossover would turn out, the people behind the scenes were having fun with it. Just look at how they came together to bring this game to life.
Serkis Shalevsky, and I'm the body for the Joker.
Sorry about before, the running away. That was rude of me. You'll be happy to know I won't be running anymore.
I play Sonya and Katana.
I play Green Lantern.
I play Superman.
I play Batman, Deathstroke the Terminator, and now recently I'm playing Shao Kahn as well. I'm playing Liu Kang of the Mortal Kombat crew.
On the MK side, Scorpion and Kano.
So I'm playing Catwoman and Wonder Woman, and to play both of them is completely amazing to me. Wonder Woman, very much more regal, and I don't think there's that same sense of humor. She's very much about keeping the integrity and, solving that crime and preventing the bad guys from winning.
I was assigned Sonya and Katana. I was excited, Mortal Kombat. Oh, everyone knows Mortal Kombat, but I had never played Mortal Kombat. So I called up a friend saying, this Sonya and Katana, what are they like? Oh, Sonya's the coolest. Sonya's like this and this and this. I'm like, oh, wow. Obviously, these are popular characters. I was very excited to hear all about them from the designers, from the writers, and be able to give the characters life.
Then you have Catwoman, who completely has the sass and the attitude and the sarcasm.
Easy, boys. Let's keep our eye on the prize.
So that's been really fun to kind of climb into the world of Catwoman, and at the same time to be that Amazonian, Wonder Woman.
When I auditioned, I was more familiar with the DC characters, and I had a feeling from the script of what those would be. They were trying to hide that it was Catwoman and Wonder Woman.
Hand it over, sexy villainess.
I'm sorry, no can do. I'm protecting it.
When they had us audition for the video game, they hadn't announced it to the press yet, so we were reading for these just sort of generic character names.
All right, crazy villain. You wanted me. I'm here.
Well, if it ain't Masked Vigilante.
If you know enough about the DC universe, it was pretty obvious, like, okay, this guy is Batman.
Who are you? I am Liu Kang.
It's awesome. This is the first game that I can actually tell my friends what I'm doing, and they flip out over it. Like, they think it's amazing. They're like, Liu Kang, they know exactly who that is.
They called me and they're like, okay, so here's what the game is. It's a DC Mortal Kombat smash up. We've cast you in the role of Batman. Is that cool? Are you gonna be able to do that? Are you interested in that? It's like freaking out on the phone, like, yes, I can do that. I think I can fit that in my schedule.
It's a lot of fun, being these powerful, dynamic women and being, physically active in the scenes and doing fights and whatever. It's a lot of fun and an opportunity you don't often get to have.
It's such a pop culture icon. Like, how do you not know who Sub-Zero and who Scorpion is?
Yeah, I've been playing Mortal Kombat since I was a little kid, so to play a 6-foot Asian martial artist has always been my dream.
I think we all got cast for a certain reason, that we inhabit some characteristics of these characters. We were also able to build on what was already there, but also bring a lot of our own style to these characters. So it's cool, Scorpion is one thing, but he's also got a lot of characteristics that I bring to it. Same with Green Lantern, same with Kano. They're real free in letting you do what you want to do, but also, have a definite vision in mind, and they're keeping true to that.
Okay, I give up!
I've heard that before.
It's kind of a hard medium to work in. They're just like some different challenges to get used to.
At first I was like, okay, wait, red lights everywhere. You see me at all angles. That's a little intimidating. But as soon as you kind of stood in that black pool, this room the size of a basketball court, black walls, red lights beaming into this performance space, you can't help but to feel like kind of the power of the performance.
I thought I defeated you, sorcerer. By the Elder Gods, I will finish you!
I've done a couple other games before, and this one was a lot more technical in that they were going for a specific look, like Liu Kang, the way he moved in other games. And, he's a martial artist, so he has a particular stance and a particular way he moves. People playing the game before will recognize, so there's a little more work that goes into it, and that's why we've had a lot of in-depth rehearsals to try to get that just right.
It's like weird because it's like, okay, but move your hand like when that other guy says this. Like, I need you to see your hand move perfectly this way. Like, sync it up.
Relaying everything with your entire body up on stage, the way you stand and move, completely transfers to the motion capture.
Since you're not talking, you're not doing any acting with your voice, so you just have to relearn how to mimic along with someone who's, the voiceover character who's actually doing the character, and make your body match that and convey feelings and stuff just through your own body movement.
It was you. Your heat vision. You blasted Darkseid's boom tube and sent him hurtling into some unknown universe. This is all your fault.
You accuse me? You helped Darkseid invade the Earth, remember? Fight! 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 Fight!
Both of you calm down!
Awesome. It's like the best job ever.
Everyone at MK, they're very laid back, fun to work with. They've made this job a thing you look forward to. Why can't this be my 9 to 5,
There's no stress. Once you know what you're doing, once you get used to being in the suit and what you're supposed to do, it's a lot of fun.
Now, with all the mixed reactions and divided opinions from both the Mortal Kombat and DC sides, this game eventually started to see the light of day. After a few trailers and gameplay previews, Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe officially dropped on November 16th, 2008 for both the Xbox 360 and the PS3, giving us a crossover we'd never seen before.
This game is set in the ultimate Elseworlds. It's the idea that, we're not going to take like a specific time in the DCU because things change. So what we did is we created the classic characters, the characters at their best, at their peak. It's the characters that as a player. Even if you don't follow the comics, you definitely understand who these guys are and what they're doing.
It's kind of strange, really, working on these two licenses simultaneously and having to sort of serve two masters. We, on the MK side, have a lot of specific things that we're aiming for. We want this sort of brutal, violent story that, sort of interconnects all these different worlds. On the DC side, we want to really stay true to these characters that we don't really own.
It's really tough, to try to figure out, what will make sense, because you don't want to take some character
or make Superman all of a sudden say, yeah, now he's vulnerable to, just an average person like Sub-Zero's uppercut. Well, why is he all of a sudden? Because before he could never take any damage. What's the reason? So, you're trying to find ways to blend the two universes, and we've kind of done that in our storyline to explain why certain characters have more abilities and why some characters' abilities have been kind of softened or dampened.
At the same time, you have to find these natural relationships between characters on different sides and figure out ways of balancing those relationships and balancing those powers and abilities and finding complements and finding natural nemeses between the two different sides, figuring out how to make everything kind of glue and fit together.
John Vogel and some of the other guys on the team would kind of get together in a room and they would kind of bang out all the details of how the story's going to work. They would define the big events that they wanted to happen. They would always say that they would write the beginning and write the end and then kind of combine the two together, and that was kind of how they would come up with the structure of what was taking place.
Figuring out how to get the two universes to come together in the storyline was not the hard part. That was kind of easy. We kind of came up with that concept really early on. And even what the bad guy was going to be, the concept for him was like the first day. We figured that out. The hard part was trying to create a story within the structure of the gameplay that we were trying to do.
My contribution was the format that the story is told in. I wanted it to be in chapters that were, starring one character. I didn't want to jump from Batman to the Flash to Green Lantern to Wonder Woman. I wanted to stick with the Flash for several fights because the player has to learn that character while he's playing it, and so we wanted to keep him with a familiar character for several fights and then move on to another character.
Here's a quick spoiler alert as I'm about to break down the story behind Mortal Kombat vs. DC. Now, if you're not a fan of spoilers, please advance this video to the gameplay overview section as seen on the timeline below. Let's dive into this. Alright, so keep in mind, the narrative behind this game is told through three main sources: the Mortal Kombat side, the DC side, and most importantly, the comic book adaptation written by John Vogel with cover art and pencils by John Tobias. I'm going to be combining the two to make the story seem seamless as I go through it. Let's start with the opening scenes from both sides, which tie directly into the comic book. On the Mortal Kombat side, we open up in a graveyard. Shao Kahn has just been defeated by Earthrealm in Mortal Kombat and is getting chewed out by Quan Chi. As Quan Chi tries to leave the graveyard, Shao Kahn isn't having it. He attacks him. Just then, Raiden appears and calls out Shao Kahn for his actions. As Shao Kahn tries to escape through a portal, Raiden hits him with a thunder blast, stopping him. Raiden then takes Quan Chi to meet with the Elder Gods.
Shao Kahn's defeat should have marked our victory against the threatened merge of Earthrealm and Outworld. Instead, it heralded a new struggle for independence.
Shinnok will be displeased by your inability to take Earthrealm.
Hold your tongue, sorcerer! Raiden! Your invasion of Earthrealm violated the rules of Mortal Kombat, Shao Kahn. Your Tarkatan horde has been routed by the forces of light. Even now, your allies desert you. Quan Chi, traitor! What have you done? Earthrealm will never succumb to the forces of darkness, Quan Chi. Now you will face the judgment of the Elder Gods.
Now let's flip over to the DC universe. In Metropolis, Superman has just finished battling Darkseid. After gaining the upper hand, Lex Luthor appears as Superman threatens to arrest him for partnering with Darkseid. While Superman is distracted, Darkseid tries to escape through a boom tube, but before he can leave, Superman fires his heat vision at him. Darkseid, now destabilized, screams in agony as the boom tube collapses and pulls him away. Superman then arrests Luthor, claiming he's going to take him far away.
Metropolis, a shining example of human achievement. This is where we made our final stand against Darkseid and his army of parademons, born in the fire pits of a distant world called Apokolips. But what seemed like victory was only the beginning. It's over, Darkseid.
Don't be so sure, Kryptonian.
Took you long enough.
Luthor. You threatened the safety of Earth for your own personal gain. You allied yourself with Darkseid.
I was only trying to ensure humanity's survival in the event that you and the other so-called heroes failed. Darkseid's activated another dimensional boom tube. He's going to escape.
This isn't over, Superman.
Don't be so sure.
Insolent fool! You're destabilizing the boom tube!
I'm amazed you didn't kill us.
Save it, Luthor. You're going to jail, but this time you'll be someplace much more secure than Stryker's Island.
What?
Don't worry. I'll make sure your cell has a nice view of Earth.
Now that we've seen how both sides start, let's get into the comic. After Raiden and Superman each disrupt Shao Kahn and Darkseid's escape attempts, something unnatural happens between the realms. Their interference causes the creation of a new being, Dark Khan, a fusion of Shao Kahn and Darkseid. Dark Khan retains the memories of both beings and struggles to control the massive energy from inside him. He quickly realizes the two universes are bound together, but not yet fully merged. Dark Khan, driven by rage, tries to take control of this combined world, but the pain of the fusion holds him back, and his rage spills outward, feeding back into both universes. As this happens, characters from both sides begin vanishing. Among those erased from existence are Johnny Cage, Goro, Aquaman, and Robin. Others aren't erased, but are instead transported to different realms, sparking confusion and chaos. Dark Khan's rage doesn't just affect mortals, it impacts gods too. The influence spreads. The Flash mistakes Kano for a major threat and attacks. Katana, overwhelmed by violent urges, strikes down her own sisters from Edenia. Even Raiden and Captain Marvel fall under the influence, seeing each other as enemies despite sensing Dark Khan's presence. But the rage clouds their judgment. They can't resist it. The crossover chaos escalates. Shang Tsung and the Tarkatan Horde attempt to invade Themyscira, battling Wonder Woman and the Amazons to claim the island. Over in the Fortress of Solitude, Superman ends up fighting Sub-Zero, but due to the rage, Superman's strength is weakened, allowing Sub-Zero to gain the upper hand. As things spiral further, we learn that while some fighters are weakened by the rage, others grow stronger. One of the most dangerous examples? The Joker. The more chaos spreads, the more powerful he becomes. All of this is happening because no one realizes the truth. The more they fight, the more they feed Dark Khan. The rage blinds them, and Dark Khan is using that rage to fuel his strength. And if there's one thing we learn from Mortal Kombat, it's that he will conquer everything. Now here's where we fully turn to the story mode of the game. We open up at the Wuxi Academy. Liu Kang is meditating, and Katana tries to sneak up on him, but to her surprise, he already knew she was there. Katana explains she's on an Earth realm because many Edenian forces have mysteriously disappeared without a trace. Even more concerning, members of the White Lotus Society are also missing. Together, they try to figure out who could be responsible, and they come to a conclusion. It's either got to be the Lin Kuei or the Black Dragon. Katana reveals that her visit is to investigate both factions. Liu Kang agrees to help. He suggests Katana contact Sonya Blade, since she has inside knowledge on the Black Dragon, while he'll personally look into the Lin Kuei.
Nice move, Liu Kang.
It was really your move. I merely redirected your own power against you. And I could sense your chi. I knew you were there.
I should never underestimate the combat skill of the White Lotus.
I am surprised to see you so soon after Shao Kahn's defeat.
I've taken leave from the Edenian resistance to solve a troubling puzzle. Many of our forces have disappeared, vanished without a trace. We cannot sustain these losses and still hope to reclaim Edenia.
Many White Lotus have also disappeared.
By the gods.
Who do you think is responsible?
Shao Kahn was defeated. Quan Chi is rumored to be imprisoned by the Elder Gods. Only 2 factions remain that are bold enough to fill the void left behind.
The Lin Kuei and the Black Dragon.
Precisely. We need to know for certain if they're responsible. They're from your realm, which is why I need your help.
You'll need more than just my help. Contact Sonya Blade. She has a better understanding of the Black Dragon than I. I will search for Sub-Zero.
Then we flip over to the DC universe. Right back in Metropolis, Superman has just defeated Darkseid again, and meanwhile we cut to a thug walking down the street. He gets stopped by Deathstroke, who says the thug owes him money. The guy refuses to pay up, and Deathstroke takes him out, decapitating him off screen, shown only through a shadow. As Deathstroke walks off, the Flash appears and attacks him. They fight and Flash comes out on top. He calls Wonder Woman, reporting that he's taken Deathstroke down. She responds saying she's contacting Metropolis PD and needs Flash to head over to Gotham. But on his way out, Flash suddenly feels something strange. A wave of Dark Khan's rage washes over him. It throws him off for a second, but he shakes it off and keeps going, brushing it off like it was nothing. In Gotham, Flash spots Catwoman on top of a building. She's just stolen an item and Flash confronts her. They both throw hands, and after the fight, she drops the item. But before Flash can grab it, Kano appears out of nowhere, picks it up, and Catwoman swipes it right back, then jumps into a portal and escapes. Flash, now clearly under the influence of Dark Khan's rage, turns his attention to Kano. They fight and Flash wins again, but he's still not himself. Right after, Batman shows up questioning what's going on. As he watches Flash, he realizes something is off. Flash is trying to eliminate Kano, and Batman knows that murder is not in the Flash's DNA. But Flash, still consumed by rage, lashes out. The two briefly scuffle before Batman delivers a shock that knocks Flash out cold.
I thought you were a master of hand-to-hand combat! I am.
The story now shifts back over to Liu Kang, who's in the graveyard, and apparently it's snowing. He contacts Katana, who lets him know that she was able to get in touch with Sonya Blade and passed on what little information she could. As their call ends, Sub-Zero tries to ambush Liu Kang. The two clash, and after a brief fight, Liu Kang comes out on top. After the battle, Liu Kang learns that members of the Lin Kuei are also disappearing. Realizing they are both dealing with the same issue, missing allies, they come to an understanding. As Sub-Zero questions if he can truly trust Liu Kang, he ends up protecting him from Scorpion, who appears out of nowhere. Liu Kang tells Sub-Zero to retreat, promising they'll meet up again. Liu Kang and Scorpion then face off. Liu Kang wins, again, but just as he does, Scorpion's eyes light up with Dark Khan's rage. He attacks Liu Kang in a frenzy as the screen flashes and we jump back to the DC universe. Now we are in the Batcave. Batman is seen running tests on Flash after knocking him out earlier. Flash wakes up and realizes where he is. He admits he doesn't know what came over him and says a surge of rage overwhelmed him. Batman questions why Flash was even in Gotham, and Flash explains Wonder Woman had asked him for help. As Batman continues his analysis, the rage kicks in again. Flash suddenly transforms into Scorpion, and the two of them go at it.
What did you hit me with? Wait a minute. Am I inside the cave?
Why did you attack me?
Listen, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened. I just felt this rage. It overwhelmed me. I couldn't stop myself.
What are you doing in Gotham?
Wonder Woman asked me to help, and that's when Catwoman and that other guy showed up.
I'd like to run some tests.
I told you I'm... Oh no.
What's happening?
Get away! I can't control... What sorcery is this?
Interesting.
Sub-Zero! Coward! First you hide behind others. Now you hide behind an illusion?
After the fight, Batman contacts Wonder Woman and fills her in on what just happened. He explains that Scorpion has somehow taken Flash's place and theorized that the two have switched realms. Right after the call, Batman picks up a new frequency, another signal matching Scorpion's energy signature, still in Gotham. He heads off to investigate. Meanwhile, the story backs jump to Mortal Kombat. After Liu Kang's earlier battle with Scorpion, Flash now appears in Scorpion's place. Liu Kang, not recognizing him, assumes it's Shang Tsung using his shape-shifting powers. The two fight and Liu Kang comes out on top once again. He takes the unconscious Flash back to the Wuxi Academy. As he lays him down and calls for his masters, no one shows up. But then Shang Tsung appears out of nowhere. The two fight and Liu Kang defeats him. As Liu Kang approaches Shang Tsung's body, he contacts Sonya Blade to let her know that the Lin Kuei are not behind these strange events. He tells her there's another force at play, something darker. He also explains that he fought a strange red figure with a bolt of lightning on his chest, thinking maybe Shang Tsung had transformed again. As Liu Kang reaches out, he feels the energy from Flash. Something changes. The rage that once filled Flash now transfers into Liu Kang, and Liu Kang disappears.
May the Elder Gods bind you in another realm for your treachery, sorcerer. This is Liu Kang.
Sonya here.
Have you found Kano?
I almost caught up with him, but he disappeared. I did get close enough to tag him. I've been trying to initiate a technoportal to his current location, but I can't stabilize it. How goes your search for Sub-Zero?
The Lin Kuei are not behind this. They are suffering losses as well. I think there is a new threat. I fought a warrior, something resembling a red devil with a bolt of lightning on his chest. At first I thought it was Shang Tsung transforming his appearance. I have ruled out that possibility. This is a different warrior altogether. I clearly sense an abnormality in his chi.
His chi?
The energy that courses through all things in the universe. His aura is unlike anything I have seen before. I will try to attune to it.
Attune to his... Don't do anything crazy, Liu Kang.
I will be fine.
You may be the champion of Mortal Kombat, but you are not invincible.
Now we make our way to the Special Forces unit where Sonya Blade is trying to reach Liu Kang, but she gets no response. Concerned, she contacts Katana and lets her know something might have happened to Liu Kang. She informs Katana that there's a situation unfolding in Outworld and she needs to handle it first, but she promises to help once she's done. As Sonya ends the call and thinks through her next steps, Catwoman suddenly appears out of nowhere. The portal she escaped through earlier has led her to the Special Forces base. Catwoman approaches, saying she needs to get back to Gotham City, but Sonya sees her as an intruder and doesn't take her word for it. The two fight, and Sonya wins, leaving Catwoman's unconscious body at the base before heading out to find Liu Kang. Back in Gotham, Batman is driving with Scorpion in the passenger seat. Suddenly, the Joker throws a blow-up doll onto the Batmobile, and Batman steps out to confront him. After taking Joker down, things escalate quickly. Liu Kang, who had disappeared from the Wuxi Academy, suddenly appears in Gotham. Turns out he was the signal Batman picked up earlier while scanning for Scorpion. As Batman approaches Liu Kang and tries to help him, Liu Kang is still under the influence of Dark Khan's rage, doesn't see Batman at all. He sees Shang Tsung. Confused and disoriented, Liu Kang lashes out and attacks. The two fight, with Batman coming out on top. He then realizes both Scorpion and the Joker have escaped. Needing backup, he calls Green Lantern for support and prepares for extraction.
No Joker, and no Scorpion. Your little distraction means two deadly menaces are out on the loose. At least you're not going anywhere. Green Lantern, this is Batman. I have a prisoner I need to examine in a secure location. I need an extraction to the UN orbital station.
I've been having problems with my ring. It may have been damaged during the battle with Darkseid, but I still should be able to transport you. Give me a minute.
Back at the Wuxi Academy, Sonya Blade arrives at the last known location of Liu Kang. She contacts Jax, informs him of Catwoman's appearance at the base, and asks for help locating Liu Kang. While they talk, Baraka shows up, trying to one-up Sonya, but fails miserably. As he considers another invasion of Earthrealm, Sonya decides it's time to contact Raiden. Meanwhile, at the UN satellite station, Batman and Green Lantern are analyzing Liu Kang, suspecting that another invasion is brewing. The two split up. Green Lantern goes search for Superman, while Batman runs a blood test on Liu Kang. The results? There is no match. No one like him exists in their world. As Batman investigates further, lightning begins flashing around Liu Kang's body. He moves closer, and suddenly, Raiden appears out of nowhere. He attacks Batman with a lightning blast, but Batman's insulated armor holds up. Raiden demands Liu Kang be returned, but Batman wants answers. They fight, and Batman wins. Afterward, Liu Kang regains consciousness, and Raiden, noticing the situation, takes Liu Kang back to Earthrealm. Batman watches the news and realizes the worlds are merging and Superman is missing. Back in Earthrealm, Sonya attempts to reach Raiden at his temple, but instead of Raiden, another lightning-wielding being appears, Captain Marvel. Dressed in red with a lightning bolt on his chest, Sonya thinks this is the same Red Devil Liu Kang described earlier. She questions him, but before he can say much, the rage takes over. They fight and Sonya wins. As she stands over Captain Marvel demanding answers, Green Lantern flies in and knocks her aside, rushing to help his ally. Captain Marvel warns him about the rage just as Sonya reappears, now with glowing eyes. The rage has consumed her too. Green Lantern and Sonya go at it. At the same time, he loses. Just as Sonya is about to land a final blow, Captain Marvel saves him. The two escape, flying off and leaving Sonya behind. After they leave, Jack shows up to help, but it's too late. Sonya, still under the rage, doesn't see him. She sees Kano. The illusion pushes her to attack Jax, and the two are now locked in battle.
Thanks for the save. Whoever she is, she was ready to finish me. You look bad, but whatever is going on is affecting us all. Come on, I'll take you to the UN space station so Batman and Wonder Woman can have a look at you.
Sonya, what happened? What are you doing in Raiden's Sky Temple? When I lost contact with you, I was about to... Hey, what's wrong?
Kano?
Kano?
I finally found you.
What are you talking about?
This time you won't get away.
Jax manages to knock some sense into Sonya, and just then Raiden finally makes his appearance. As he questions why they were fighting, Sonya begins to calm down. The rage no longer has a hold on her. She apologizes for attacking Jax, and he forgives her. Raiden explains the nature of the rage that's been corrupting people across realms. He shows that Liu Kang is now with him and doing much better. Liu Kang reveals that he was kidnapped and taken to the UN space station, but Raiden saved him before things could get worse. Sonya tells them that she was recently attacked by Green Lantern and Captain Marvel, who fled back to the UN space station. Raiden confirms that their world is merging with another. Furious, Liu Kang argues that he already defeated Shao Kahn. This shouldn't be happening. Raiden speculates that these new warriors may somehow be in league with Shao Kahn, which prompts Jax to return to base and start preparing a counterattack. Meanwhile, over at Themyscira, Wonder Woman informs Batman that the invasion has reached her homeland. She tells him that she'll handle it. On the island, Shang Tsung appears, claiming Themyscira is his island. The two battle and Wonder Woman wins, forcing Shang Tsung to retreat into the jungle. After the fight, Wonder Woman contacts Batman, who let him know that the threat has been dealt with for now. Batman updates her, revealing that Earth is now in the process of merging with another planet. He also tells her they need Superman. Wonder Woman agrees and sets off to search for him in Metropolis.
Wonder Woman to Batman. The invaders have retreated into the jungle.
I have more bad news. Earth is in the process of merging with another planet.
By the gods.
Our world and the alien world occupy the same time and space as fragments separated only by
large yellow energy rifts. I've seen them.
We need Superman, but no one knows where he is.
I'll search Metropolis.
In Metropolis, Wonder Woman combs through the streets for any signs of Superman, but instead a portal opens and Katana stumbles out. Wonder Woman approaches, trying to help, but Katana is in a frantic state. She rants about how they defeated Shao Kahn, how he was supposed to be destroyed, and now she's seen Dark Khan, who's more powerful than ever. She fears that the apocalyptic threat Dark Khan represents has already spread into this new world. Wonder Woman calls for medical aid, hoping to assist Katana, but Katana is too overwhelmed. She sees Wonder Woman as a threat, not an ally. Dark Khan's rage creeps in, and the two women clash. Wonder Woman wins the fight, and as she regains control of the situation, another portal opens. Katana escapes through it. Right after, Wonder Woman receives a call from Batman. He reports that Superman is not in Metropolis, and worse, his Fortress of Solitude has been breached. Wonder Woman heads to the fortress only to find Sub-Zero standing over a frozen Superman. The two fight and Wonder Woman defeats him. She restrains Sub-Zero and frees Superman from the ice. Superman explains that his powers have been unstable ever since his battle with Darkseid. When he returned to the fortress, Sub-Zero ambushed him. Once caught up, Wonder Woman updates him on the merging of worlds and the chaos spreading across both realms. Superman assumes the invasion must be Darkseid's doing, but when Wonder Woman presses Sub-Zero about the invasion, something strange happens. He says they are the invaders, not them. Wonder Woman stands there confused because he is tied up in the lasso of truth, so he can't lie. Before they can process the revelation, Green Lantern calls in from the Watchtower, urgently requesting backup. Wonder Woman prepares to leave and decides to bring Sub-Zero with her.
Cal, what happened? Are you all right?
Something's wrong. My powers have been fluctuating ever since the battle with Darkseid. I came back to the fortress to try to discover what was wrong, and Sub-Zero attacked. What's happening to me? It must have a basis in magic.
Luckily, I'm not susceptible to magic, so he got what he deserved. Bruce believes he's part of an invasion force. Heroes all over the world are disappearing, including the Flash. And our planet is merging with another, possibly Apocalypse.
Apocalypse? Then Darkseid is back? I have to get back to Metropolis. I'll rendezvous with you at the UN space station.
Sub-Zero, who is behind this invasion?
You are the invaders.
Wonder Woman, this is Green Lantern. The UN space station is in chaos. Captain Marvel is in a frenzy and none of us can contain him. My ring's almost out of juice.
I'll be there as soon as I can. You'll be coming with me.
Back at the UN space station, Captain Marvel is now fully possessed by Dark Khan's rage. As Green Lantern lies on the ground, a lightning strike hits him, and just like that, he vanishes. Wonder Woman demands to know why Captain Marvel is doing this, but he doesn't answer. They fight instead. After Wonder Woman manages to knock some sense into him, she ties him up with the lasso of truth and questions him about why he attacked Green Lantern. Captain Marvel, weakened, explains that the Eternal forces are unbalanced and shifting out of control. He passes out asking for help. Meanwhile, back at the Special Forces base, Jax and Sonya begin preparing a counterattack against Outworld. Jax tells her that he found the Flash unconscious and took him to get some medical help. He tracked Sonya's signal and followed it. As usual, he scolds her for going off on her own. Sonya brushes it off. Jax then says he's prepping the portal to transport them to the UN space station, but before he can activate it, Lex Luthor shows up, impressed by the technology. He introduces himself, but Jax sees him as a trespasser. Lex tries to come off peaceful, saying he wants to talk, maybe form an alliance. But before they get anywhere, Jax becomes infected with Darkhan's rage. The two fight, and Jax wins. Sonya arrives and Jax quickly explains what happened. He suspects their base has been compromised. They agree to storm the UN space station directly. Once transported, Jax and Sonya arrive in separate locations. Jax finds Captain Marvel wandering around the halls, dazed. Without hesitation, he punches him and they fight. After the battle, Jax contacts Sonya to fill her in and tries to find her location. But before he can move further, he's confronted by Wonder Woman, who's still holding Sub-Zero as prisoner. However, she suddenly becomes overwhelmed by the rage herself and attacks Jax. He fights her and defeats her. With Captain Marvel and Wonder Woman down, Jax questions Sub-Zero for answers. Sub-Zero tells him more about the situation, explaining that they need to contact Quan Chi because he might be the only one who truly understands what's happening.
Sonya, you'll never guess who I bumped into. Sub-Zero.
What's he doing up here?
Obviously, I'm a captive. It would appear that we are now allies.
Appearances can be deceiving.
True, but you would be a fool to refuse my help.
What do you think, Sonya? Should we trust him?
Better the devil you know than the devil you don't.
All right then, Sub-Zero. Tell us what you know.
Only that these warriors are unlike anything I have encountered. I don't know yet who commands them.
Any ideas?
The most logical assumption would be that Shao Kahn has returned to finish what he started with this new army. Now I need to find someone, a sorcerer who may have answers.
Sorcerer? I don't like the sound of that.
Like it or not, we need him. Where there is threat of invasion, he usually knows something about it.
Now we shift over to Green Lantern, who has been teleported to Oa, the homeworld of the Guardians. They inform him that the two universes are on a collision course. If they merge completely, neither will survive. While on Oa, Green Lantern is approached by Lex Luthor and Catwoman, who managed to escape the Special Forces base by using the same portal Sonya and Jax activated. Lex tries to explain the bigger picture to Green Lantern, and although Lantern doesn't trust him, he realizes that Lex's involvement might mean things are even more serious than he expects. As Lex starts to justify his actions, he begins to shake. Darkhan's rage starts taking over. Green Lantern and Catwoman both notice something's wrong. Lantern looks into Luthor's eyes and sees them glowing, just like Captain Marvel's earlier. The two fight and Green Lantern wins. After the fight, the Guardians step in. They call the conflict a waste of time and that even they are being affected by the merging of worlds. Rage is spreading everywhere. They give Green Lantern one final warning. If the worlds fully collide, neither universe will exist. He must unite the heroes and villains alike if they're going to have any hope of stopping it. With that, Green Lantern, Lex Luthor, and Catwoman return to Metropolis. Once there, Lantern leaves them behind and heads off to the UN station. As he flies away, Luthor and Catwoman begin cooking up a plan of their own.
That's the UN communicator. I have to leave you here. If I were you, Catwoman, I wouldn't turn my back on him.
I can take care of myself.
Idiot. Home sweet home. Or at least it used to be before Darkseid got to it.
You brought it on yourself, Lex. From what I hear, you helped Darkseid.
I never take sides. I chose the lesser of two evils. The worst Superman would do is hand me over to the authorities. Darkseid, on the other hand, would destroy everything. It wasn't much of a choice.
Seems like we don't have one now either. So what's the plan?
Simple. We find a way to turn this situation to our advantage.
Now we turn our attention to Sub-Zero, who has just left the UN space station and made his way to Raiden's temple. Upon arrival, he's immediately confronted by Raiden, who doesn't agree with Sub-Zero's sudden visit. Sub-Zero insists he's come in peace, but Raiden doesn't want to hear any piece of that. Their past tensions still linger. Raiden challenges Sub-Zero and he loses the fight. After the battle, Sub-Zero stands firm. He tells Raiden that he's not here to start trouble, he wants to help. Eventually, Raiden calms down and decides to listen. He chooses to trust Sub-Zero, at least for now. Raiden shows him the Rock of Eternity, which belongs to Captain Marvel, and he explains there's an invasion happening across both realms. Sub-Zero said they need to find Quan Chi. He believes the sorcerer may know what's really going on. Raiden stays vague, but tells Sub-Zero to track down Scorpion. If he can find Scorpion, he'll find Quan Chi. Sub-Zero then travels to Gotham City, following Scorpion's trail where he encounters Deathstroke. Deathstroke taunts Sub-Zero and immediately assumes he's a threat. The two fight and Sub-Zero wins. With Deathstroke dealt with, Sub-Zero continues his search for Scorpion. Meanwhile, back at the UN space station, Green Lantern crosses paths with Jax, who's now fully under the influence of Dark Khan's rage. The two fight and Green Lantern defeats him, but right after, he runs into Sonya, and the sight of her triggers another rage boost. Sonya becomes enraged as well. The two clash with Green Lantern once again coming out on top. After defeating the Special Forces members, Lantern comes face to face with Captain Marvel again. The last time they met, Captain Marvel was consumed by rage and tried to take him out, but this time he's different. He's in control. Captain Marvel explains that he managed to overcome the rage and regain clarity. He tells Green Lantern that if he wants answers, he needs to go to the Rock of Eternity.
Green Lantern, am I glad to see you.
Hey, Cap. How you feeling?
I won't attack you, Green Lantern. I think I finally have the rage under control. It's all coming from this other universe trying to merge with ours. Its energy creates this terrible fury. You just want to hit something.
That's what the Guardian said. How did you figure it out?
Their alien gods are creating interference with my powers and infecting me with their combat rage.
Great. Out of control magical alien god powers. So that would make you a danger to us and yourself.
None of us is safe from the rage until this is stopped. I have to go back to the Rock of Eternity to get closer to the gods and see how we can defeat this combat rage. There has to be a way.
Good luck, Cap.
Back with Sub-Zero, he finally makes it to the Batcave where he's confronted by Batman. But Batman suddenly gets hit with a surge of rage and challenges him. They fight and Sub-Zero comes out on top once again. Just as the battle ends, a portal opens. A spear launches from the darkness, wrapping around Sub-Zero and pulling him straight into the Netherrealm. There, Sub-Zero discovers Quan Chi chained up. But before he can make sense of what's happening, Scorpion appears blaming Sub-Zero for the murder of his family and clan. The two of them battle, and this time, Sub-Zero wins. After the fight, the Netherrealm begins reacting violently to the realm's mergers. This energy spike allows Quan Chi to break free from his restraints. Now unchained, Quan Chi gives both Sub-Zero and Scorpion an update on what's happening across the realms. He tells them what they must do next if they want to stop the chaos.
The Elder Gods underestimate me. You're free. The realms have become unstable. Our world is colliding with another, the merging fueled by combat. The intense battle between such bitter enemies caused a rift powerful enough to shatter my bonds. You used us. I'm a sorcerer. The world as we know it is in peril. None will survive, regardless of allegiance. Return to your Thunder God. Tell him if he wishes to save his precious Earth realm, he will have to ally himself with devils. Search their cities. Find the princess. She has seen our enemy.
As we return to Captain Marvel at the Rock of Eternity, Raiden approaches him. Both men accuse each other of being the reason the worlds are colliding, but as they stand near one another, something becomes clear. Just by being too close, they begin to feel intense rage. It's this energy, this pull between them that consumes Captain Marvel and pushes him to lash out. They fight, and after the battle, Captain Marvel punches Raiden away from the Rock of Eternity. The impact knocks Raiden back into his senses. With Raiden now subdued, Captain Marvel is granted an audience with the Wizard, who explains the truth behind the crisis. Darkseid's essence has fused with Shao Kahn, creating Dark Khan, the central point where both worlds have begun to intermingle. If the connection isn't broken, both universes will fall. Everyone will be a casualty. The Wizard tells Captain Marvel he must find Superman. He's the key to stopping the destruction. As Marvel searches through Metropolis, he's suddenly transported to the Netherrealm, where he's immediately forced into battle with Scorpion. After their clash, Shang Tsung appears and attempts to manipulate Captain Marvel into finishing off Scorpion. Marvel refuses. Frustrated, Shang Tsung then pits Captain Marvel against Baraka and finally against himself. Marvel fights all three and comes out victorious. After demanding to be sent back to Metropolis, Shang Tsung reluctantly agrees and opens a portal. As Marvel departs, the scene lingers on the three Mortal Kombat warriors, Scorpion, Baraka, and Shang Tsung, left in confusion. Now with even more questions for Quan Chi.
I've had enough of your games, Shang Tsung. I've beaten you and your demons. Now before the combat rage overtakes me again, send me back.
As you wish. Quan Chi said the Netherrealm would drain him, but even here we could not defeat him.
How can we defeat a foe such as this?
We must return to Quan Chi. He may have the answer.
Back in Gotham, Scorpion is now searching for Kitana, having heard she may have laid eyes on Dark Khan. During his search, he crosses paths with the Joker, who mocks and taunts him. The two fight and Scorpion takes the win. Afterward, he teleports away just as Lex Luthor steps out of the shadows to recruit Joker for his plan. We shift scenes to Themyscira, where Wonder Woman speaks to one of her sisters, urging her to prepare for a possible war. During the conversation, Scorpion appears out of nowhere, demanding to speak with Princess Kitana. Wonder Woman tells him she has no idea where Kitana is and suggests they work together instead. But before she can finish, Dark Khan's rage clouds Scorpion's mind. He attacks Wonder Woman and defeats her, then vanishes again. Scorpion now appears in Metropolis, where he's approached by Superman. Superman questions him, trying to understand who he is and why he's looking for Kitana. Realizing Scorpion's from another world, Superman attempts to help, but is suddenly attacked. The blast weakens him, and Superman realizes it was magic, something he's vulnerable to. The two battle, and once again, Scorpion wins. After the fight, Kitana appears, but she's infected with rage. She accuses Scorpion of being an assassin sent by Dark Khan and declares he's going to eliminate him. They fight, and Scorpion defeats her. As she lies wounded, Scorpion calls out to Quan Chi. He appears and briefly possesses her, suppressing the rage just enough to calm her down. He then gives his orders. Shang Tsung is to find and eliminate Captain Marvel before it's too late.
Quan Chi! I have found her!
Well done, Scorpion. But she has gotten too close to the enemy. Rage has all but consumed her. I can control her. For now.
What will you do with her?
Kill her! She may have lost her mind, but she still has her uses. I will not leave her to you yet, Baraka. One of the enemy is near. Draw him to the Netherrealm where he will be weak. Kill him. When you have finished with your prey, meet me at Raiden Sky Temple. The time has come for old rivalries to be put aside.
When Captain Marvel returns to Metropolis, he's joined by Superman, and together they regroup with the rest of the fighters that Luthor has gathered. Everyone touches base, laying down everything they know so far. Captain Marvel explains that the wizard told him how Darkseid's energy fused with Shao Kahn, and that the fusion created Dark Khan, who's responsible for the collision of the two worlds. That's when Lex Luthor turns around and blames Superman directly, claiming that when he blasted Darkseid in the boom tube, it created a chain reaction that caused this whole mess. As tensions rise, both Luthor and Superman begin to power up, ready to throw hands right then and there. But before it gets out of control, Captain Marvel steps in and breaks it up. He tells them it's not their anger, it's combat rage, the influence of Dark Khan warping their emotions. He urges them to stand together if they want to take Dark Khan down. Apparently, Dark Khan is residing on Apokolips, and luckily for them, Luthor knows how to get there.
Excellent work, Captain Marvel. Finally, one of the heroes is doing something about these invaders. Did you win?
What are you and your criminal buddies doing, Luthor?
Unlike the rest of the long underwear crowd, I'm trying to save the planet.
Can we kill him now?
Don't even think about it, Joker.
Superman.
You're supposed to be in jail, Luthor.
The evidence didn't hold up. You should be used to it by now. Nice try, though.
Easy, boys. Let's keep our eye on the prize.
Catwoman's right. I know what we're up against. Our enemy is called Dark Khan.
Shut up, or I'll gut you.
Darkseid's energy merged with energy from the other universe. Dark Khan's mere existence is what's causing the two universes to collide.
That explains the attacks on me and the rest of you, the strange fluctuations of our powers.
It was you. Your heat vision. You blasted Darkseid's boom tube and sent him hurtling into some unknown universe. This is all your fault!
You accuse me? You helped Darkseid invade the Earth, remember?
Fight! 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 Both of you calm down! You're being poisoned by the combat rage.
Poisoned by what?
The dark energies from the world merge. We can't fight among ourselves. We need to work together to find Dark Khan.
I have lives to spare. How do we find this Dark Khan?
If Dark Khan is made of Darkseid's energy, there's a good chance he's on Apokolips.
I know where we can access one of Dark Khan's portals. I used it when Catwoman and I escaped. If their portal can take us to Oa, it can take us to Apokolips. Deathstroke, you and Joker secure that portal. This device will lead you to the base. Report back to me when you've succeeded.
You want me to assault an enemy base with him?
Come on! We'll kill things! Blow things up! Oh, it'll be fun!
Catwoman, you're with me. Can't be too safe in this town. Too many criminals. Superman and Captain Marvel, you gather your hero allies and wait for my word.
All right, Lex. I'll trust you. For now. You get to the portals. I'll go to the Fortress of Solitude and pull up everything I know about Darkseid. No killing. If one of you steps out of line, believe me, I'll know.
Meanwhile, back at Raiden's temple, Sub-Zero is getting chewed out by Raiden for letting Quan Chi escape. Just as Raiden's about to dish out punishment, a portal opens and Quan Chi walks in, accompanied by a dazed Katana. Quan Chi comes in peace and demonstrates how the combat rage has been affecting people. As Katana begins to lash out again, he uses the last of his magic to purge the rage from her. It works, and for a brief moment, he earns Raiden's trust. Katana, now clear-headed, explains everything she knows. Quan Chi confirms that the fusion of Shao Kahn and Darkseid's energy is responsible for the corrupting of everyone. He tells the group that the only way to stop this is for everyone alike to work together and strike down Dark Khan's forces.
Helped him escape?
It was not intentional, I swear to you.
You have betrayed my trust, Sub-Zero. He did you a service.
Kitana!
You dare to come here, sorcerer?
Not to fight, I assure you.
Then for what purpose?
By now, I am sure you are aware of the merging. Its effects are far-reaching. Even the Netherrealm is vulnerable.
I care not for the wasteland you call home.
Kitana?
You believe that you're in control? That your allies are enough to stave off the coming destruction? Think again, Thunder God.
Kitana!
I will destroy you all!
This is your doing, sorcerer.
It is no spell of mine. She is a harbinger of things to come. It will only get worse.
What is this?
I've used the last of my power to purge her of the rage. I am at your mercy, Raiden.
Why would you do this?
To win your trust.
What is it that we face?
Perhaps she can show you.
At first I thought it was the Emperor, but it is someone much more powerful. Dark Khan.
The portal Raiden disrupted did not destroy the Emperor. It created a monster. Dark Khan's energy is slowly grinding the two universes together, agitating us until we become enraged and fight. Combat releases the rage, hastening the merging.
Then Dark Khan must be stopped.
Not yet. We must first eliminate his forces. But to do so will require the unthinkable.
Bitter rivals must fight as one, to focus the rage against our enemies.
So it shall be. We will seek out Dark Khan's forces, hunt them down in pairs. Liu Kang, you must fight alongside Shang Tsung.
I will do as you ask, Raiden.
This could prove interesting.
Back at the graveyard on Earthrealm, Joker and Deathstroke are approached by Kano and Sonya Blade. Suddenly, all four are teleported to Oa. There, Sonya clashes with the Joker. Against all odds, Joker wins the fight. Even Deathstroke is caught off guard, shocked that Joker somehow learned how to fight so effectively. While Kano and Deathstroke are fighting, Joker intervenes and takes Kano down, now empowered by combat rage flowing through him. Deathstroke takes advantage of the chaos, steals Sonya's teleportation device, and jumps back to the graveyard. As Joker watches him leave, the rage starts to intensify inside of him. Joker snaps and ends up fighting Deathstroke. Fueled by Dark Khan's corruption, Joker wins again. Now fully drunk on power, Joker feels unstoppable. He publicly challenges Batman, calling him out in the middle of the street. When Batman shows up, Joker lands a punch and Batman immediately realizes this isn't the same Joker he's fought before. The two fight and surprisingly Joker defeats Batman, but as Joker gloats, Batman recovers just enough to get the drop on him with a sneak attack, knocking him out cold. After the fight, Batman sends a warning to Luthor, telling him the combat rage is getting worse and Joker is living proof of how far it can go. He warns Luthor to make sure he's truly on the right side of this battle.
I did it! I beat Batman! I win! I win! I win! I win! I win!
Joker. Fun time is over. You can't rage if you're out cold. Luthor, this is Batman. Your strike team failed. Joker's been exposed to the planetary merger and the power went to his head. You shouldn't have trusted the clown with such an important mission.
Give me some credit, Batman. I used those psychotics as a diversion. Catwoman and I are still on track to take the portal.
You'd better be on our side for this one, Luthor. If not, I'll be the first one you'll answer to.
At the Wuxi Academy, Luther and Catwoman are approached by Scorpion and Sub-Zero, who have now teamed up. As tensions rise, Luther gets hit with a combat rage surge and immediately lashes out, targeting Sub-Zero first. Supercharged by the rage, Luther manages to defeat both Scorpion and Sub-Zero. After the fight, he frees Catwoman from the ice she was trapped in, and the two escape together. Back at the Fortress of Solitude, Shang Tsung and Liu Kang confront Superman and Green Lantern. Once again, the rage kicks in, pushing Liu Kang and Shang Tsung into combat. Shang Tsung takes down Superman while Liu Kang manages to overpower Green Lantern. But then something shifts. As Liu Kang stands near the DC heroes, the rage intensifies. Suddenly, he turns on Shang Tsung, challenging him to a fight. This time, Shang Tsung comes out on top, shocking Liu Kang, who can't understand how he lost. Just as Shang Tsung considers finishing Liu Kang off, Green Lantern steps in, forcing another fight. Powered by this new energy, Shang Tsung defeats Green Lantern as well. He spares Liu Kang and walks away. Liu Kang, now humbled, thanks him, and the two part ways, their mission complete. Meanwhile, at the Special Forces base, Luthor is tampering with the portal tech, trying to sync with LexCorp systems. Jack shows up to stop him, but Luthor, now fully in control of his rage-enhanced strength, wins the fight. As Luthor basks in victory, the Flash suddenly appears, holding Catwoman unconscious. Not knowing the full story, Flash believes Luthor is behind all the chaos and challenges him to a fight. After the battle, the DC heroes begin arriving together. Finally united, Luthor, now finished with his calibrations, opens a portal to Apocalypse.
All right, Luthor, we all got your hail. Let's end this now. Get us to Apocalypse.
Here's your pet clown.
Ouch! Someone please kill him for me!
Back off. Joker and Flash are infected. We can't trust them.
We've all been infected, Batman. It's a risk we have to take.
Not to worry, Batman. My fight with Luthor apparently purged me of my combat rage or whatever you call it.
Gentlemen, if you're finished wasting time, we have a job to do. Open the portal, Luthor. Take us to Apocalypse.
Yay! We're all going to hell!
And if you're not a good boy, we'll leave you there.
Back at Raiden's temple, Sonya and Kanan report everything that just happened at Oa. Just then, Liu Kang and Shang Tsung return after their victories over Superman and Green Lantern. Shang Tsung mocks the group for letting Joker get the upper hand. This enrages Kano, who succumbs to combat rage and attacks. Kano and Shang Tsung battle one-on-one, and even in his rage state, Kano is defeated. As Shang Tsung prepares to finish him off, Sonya intervenes. At the same time, Jax contacts the group with urgent news. Luthor has activated a portal to Apocalypse. Raiden teleports to retrieve Jax, bringing him to the temple. He warns the group that the DC faction has already gone through the portal. The time for waiting is over. It's time to strike. The Mortal Kombat warriors gather together and activate their own portal to Outworld.
As much as I would love to see you two kill each other, there are bigger issues to deal with.
Agreed.
Sonya here.
This is Jax. I'm at the base. I have some bad news. They were at the base. A guy in an exosuit dropped me. Then they used our techno portal. I think they're headed to Outworld.
Then that is where we must go. We all know what is at stake. If we fail, none of us will survive.
Then we shall go to Outworld.
All of the DC characters enter the portal and find themselves floating in deep space, stunned by what Apocalypse has become, twisted, corrupted, and unrecognizable. At the same time, Mortal Kombat's warriors enter Outworld and are equally horrified by what has happened to their realm. Across two distorted dimensions, both factions see each other, neither realizing the truth. Each believes the other side is responsible for the chaos. The air is tense. Then, at the center of it all, Superman and Raiden meet face to face. Raiden proposes they settle this with Mortal Kombat. Superman agrees, saying they're ready for any fight. But before they can begin, Dark Khan makes his entrance. His rage floods both realms, corrupting everyone present. And so, Superman and Raiden stand still, watching helplessly both worlds erupt in an all-out war.
I'm Superman. We need to know your intentions.
I am Raiden, God of Thunder. With me are the mightiest warriors in all the realms. We have come to challenge you in Mortal Kombat. You will be defeated.
Don't be so sure, Raiden. If you want to fight, you'll find my friends and I are up to the challenge.
Liu Kang, what's wrong?
I can sense something. Something big. It's here!
Dark Khan!
You seek to destroy me. Good. Get into your rage. Unleash your aggression. Fight!
The rage flowing through them, Raiden and his allies battled the invaders with a diabolical elation. But as the dust settled, it was clear that neither side had won. The few comrades still standing tried to free themselves of the bloodlust.
After the collision, we cut to Shang Tsung, who watches as Dark Khan approaches a dark rooming fortress. He turns to Raiden and insists they investigate. But before they can move forward, Raiden is suddenly hit by combat rage, and in his clouded mind, he sees Shang Tsung as the enemy. The two fight. Raiden wins and is just about to finish Shang Tsung when Liu Kang steps in, seeing through the rage that has taken hold of Raiden. Raiden, now beyond reason, turns on Liu Kang and defeats him too. But as he stands over Liu Kang, about to deliver the final blow, something inside him shifts. Raiden regains his senses. Ashamed of what he's done, he falters. And in a surprising turn, it's Shang Tsung who helps him, reminding Raiden that they must set their differences aside and take the fight directly to Dark Khan. Blaming himself for the blast that may have led to Khan's creation, Raiden vows to put an end to it, refusing to let any more warriors fall victim to rage. He goes to the final battle alone. Back on the DC side, Superman still stands after the collision between worlds, but Lex Luthor, never missing an opportunity, betrays him, accusing him of causing all of this. The worlds, laced with rage, infect Superman. The two fight as Superman wins. As he's about to deliver the final strike, Batman steps in, pleading with him to stop. They fight briefly, and even though Batman loses, he manages to reach through to Superman with his words. It works. Superman regains control and realizes just how far he almost was. He apologizes, saying he too is responsible for what happened. He vows to end it alone. At the fortress, Raiden and Superman come face to face. The tension is thick. Both have come with the same goal, each believing they must face Dark Khan alone. Fueled by unresolved rage and guilt, they fight. Now, who wins depends on who you chose at the beginning of the game. Team Mortal Kombat or Team DC. After the fight, Superman attempts to approach Dark Khan but is thrown back by a blast of energy. Raiden, seeing Superman isn't the enemy, joins him. He fires his lightning at Dark Khan, and in that moment, both warriors realize something crucial. They have a common enemy. Dark Khan lashes out, trying to overwhelm them with raw rage, but Raiden and Superman resist it together. As allies, they rise, and they choose to fight Dark Khan as one.
Outstanding.
ferocity, the hatred, the anger. Your combat hastens the merging.
No, Dark Khan. I won't let you destroy the Earth.
Enough.
You don't fight for him. Neither do you.
Silence!
Seems we have a common enemy. And a common goal.
On your feet. This battle is not yet over. You will fight!
Don't give in to the rage, Raiden. It can be overcome.
Focus. We must focus. What are you doing?
If we fight together, we can channel his own energy against him.
Sounds like a plan.
Face each other or face me. It makes no difference. You will fight!
The story concludes with two different endings depending on which side you play through. If you're Team Mortal Kombat, with Dark Khan defeated, the universe is separated. Outworld is restored to its natural state. However, Darkseid, now powerless, has been exiled to the Netherrealm. Now, if you're Team DC, the DC universe returns to normal and Apocalypse is stabilized. But as a result of the cosmic shift, Shao Kahn is now trapped in the Phantom Zone. In both outcomes, the threat has passed, but the cost was high and the worlds are forever changed.
Superman! He's gone. Shao Kahn's throne room. The realms have been restored.
Who are you?
I am Darkseid! I am God here!
If you are anything like Shao Kahn, you will find no refuge here. Your fate will be decided by the Elder Gods.
Raiden! He's gone.
The others have disappeared as well.
The rage. It's gone.
What is this place?
Darkseid's throne room. The two universes must have separated. Everything's returned to normal. You aren't Darkseid.
I am Shao Kahn, and you will bow to me! What?
Okay, let me be honest. Most of the time when people talk about this game, the main complaint is how toned down it felt compared to other Mortal Kombat stories. And to be fair, I get it. No one's really pointing the fingers at the DC side. let's be real. If this crossover had been with any other franchise besides Mortal Kombat, the complaints would have probably been less vocal. Now, the story itself is not exactly certified fresh. If I'm being real, the biggest issue isn't the war between the two sides, it's the setup. They played it way too safe. When they were discussing what characters to include, I'm all for having more from both universes. It could have added more flavor and maybe even shifted how the story unfolded. But the real problem starts at the beginning. The way Superman blasts Darkseid and Raiden blasts Shao Kahn, creating Dark Khan, yeah, that felt kind of cheap. Both portals being hit with energy just magically merging the worlds. It's a convenient excuse for a crossover, but honestly, it could have been handled better. I mean, think about it. Quan Chi opened his portal before the blast, and Darkseid had already opened his boom tube. If the blast never happened, these two worlds would have never collided. So yeah, I get it. It's a crossover and you need some kind of bridge, but it didn't feel adequate. Now, to DC's credit, there's a reason we don't hear many complaints about their side of the story. That's because DC was heavily involved in the writing. In fact, in an interview, Ed Boon mentioned, DC insisted we have two writers to help us so we didn't make their characters diverge from what they would do. So Jimmy Palmiotti and Justin Gray were kind of this consultant writers. They would read our drafts and say, no, Superman would say this, or Batman would never say it that way. They kind of kept us authentic to it. That kind of collaboration really shows. This is why the DC characters feel true to form, even in Mortal Kombat setting. So yeah, DC kept their characters accurate. And on the Mortal Kombat side, let's be honest, as a franchise, they don't pull their punches. If someone gets hurt, they get hurt. Kenshi lost his eyesight, Jax lost his arms, and the first Sub-Zero straight up eliminated Scorpion during a botched robbery at a Shaolin temple in China. But for this game, they had to pull back. And don't get it twisted, in today's time, this whole concept would probably work way better as an animated movie, giving us more room to flesh things out. And you'd hope the writing would be tighter, because let's be real, 1v1, this story isn't structurally sound. Take this for example. Look how many chapters each side gets. DC gets 8 while Mortal Kombat only gets 7. From what I gathered, it was originally meant to be 8 chapters each, and the missing chapter is Katana's. Katana was originally supposed to have a chapter after Scorpion and before Shang Tsung, but it got cut out. Now, if you read the comic book that came with the collector's edition, you'll notice we actually got a small glimpse of what her story was supposed to be. In the comic, there's a scene where Katana turns on her Ardennian sisters, and from the coloring, it looks like we were supposed to see Mileena and Tanya. I could be wrong, but based on their outfits, it seems like that's who they are. That moment, Katana losing control and attacking her own might have been worth adding to the game. Because think about it, the next time we see Katana during Wonder Woman's chapter, she's completely unhinged. If you don't know the backstory, it doesn't leave you intrigued, it leaves you confused.
Great Hera! Are you all right? Let me help you.
It can't be. We routed his invasion. He was destroyed.
Who? Darkseid?
I saw him. More powerful than ever. Torn his realm asunder. Am I too late? Has he already brought the apocalypse to this world?
Wonder Woman to UN Orbital Space Station. I need a med unit at my location. We have another victim of the invasion. Please, come with me. You're safe now.
I have been followed. Who are you?
No one will hurt you. My name is Wonder Woman.
I am not so easily fooled, assassin of Outworld. Your master has sent you to finish me.
And that's where having her chapter could have filled in the blanks. It's a small gap, but it's a noticeable one. Like, after this, the Mortal Kombat side just knows Katana has laid eyes on Dark Khan.
Search their cities. Find the princess. She has seen our enemy.
Honestly, I think the game was a bit rushed, and Katana's story being cut might have been one of the early casualties. It also lines up with how the dev team wanted to include DLC but ran into too many issues. And the fact that Quan Chi, a crucial piece of the plot, isn't even playable, that absolutely impacts the story. There were so many potential directions they could have taken if they had far more time and, more importantly, more characters. Imagine this. Deathstroke teaming up with Kano. Scorpion kills Ra's al Ghul and becomes the new leader of the League of Assassins to go after the Lin Kuei. Special Forces and the Justice League work together to stop the invasion. All of these ideas could have added depth and made the crossover even more intriguing. But I get it. They wanted the story to feel balanced and inclusive, with both sides getting equal representation, and to their credit, some parts really do flow together well. That's what I appreciated most when I was piecing together this retrospective. I tried my hardest to tell the story in a way that showed how it all connected. And honestly, that's where the story starts to shine. When it shows how both sides throughout the majority of the game are fighting to prove why they are right. Now that I analyze the story, let's jump into the characters in this game. Spoiler alert, this game combined DC characters and Mortal Kombat characters. The characters included was Sub-Zero, Batman, Scorpion, The Flash, Sonya Blade, Catwoman, Shang Tsung, Captain Marvel, Liu Kang, Green Lantern, Katana, Wonder Woman, Jax, Lex Luthor, Kano, the Joker, Raiden, Superman, Baraka, Deathstroke, Shao Kahn, Darkseid, and most importantly, Dark Khan. Since DC is the guest characters in this game, let's start with analyzing them first. Batman's ending in Mortal Kombat vs. DC is a perfect reflection of who he is at his core, diligent, methodical, and always 3 steps ahead. After witnessing the chaos from the merging of Mortal Kombat and DC worlds, Batman isn't satisfied just walking away from it all. Instead, he does what Batman always does, prepares for the next crisis. He creates the OMAC system, the Outworld Monitor and Auto Containment Network. It's a global automated defense system designed to detect and neutralize branches from alternate realities. For DC fans, this is a direct callback to the OMACs from the comics, often portrayed as a one-man army or satellite surveillance system used for preemptive defense. This move showcases Batman's mindset. Even if the universe seems stable now, he knows better than to let his guard down. Building OMAC proves he's thinking bigger, beyond Gotham, beyond Earth, into the multiverse. And it's not just about defense, it's about control, foresight, and having a plan in place before anyone else can even know there's a problem. The final beat, where OMAC has already detected another breach in Metropolis, leaves the door open. It hints that while the current battle is over, the war against interdimensional threats might just be beginning. Overall, Batman's ending stays true to his legacy across comics, films, and games. Always ready, always watching, and never trusting the calm before the storm.
Concerned that other worlds might once again invade Earth, Batman created an autonomous global security system to monitor any temporal breaches. His system, OMAC, Outer World Monitor and Auto-Containment, is designed to detect and trap invaders from alternate universes. OMAC has already discovered a breach in Metropolis.
Let's talk about the clown prince of crime, the Joker. Now let's be real, if anybody was going to walk away from this crossover with more power and more chaos, it was Joker. As the worlds went in their separate ways, he somehow kept the powers he gained from Dark Khan's influence, and instead of using them for some master plan or world domination, Joker does what Joker does best. He turns Gotham into his personal playground, crowning himself Mayor Joker, which is just as terrifying as it is ridiculous. Under his rule, Gotham completely falls apart. We're not talking petty crime or mob wars. Joker unleashes full-blown anarchy. This version of Gotham becomes a twisted circus, and the people, they're just part of the show. It's not enough for Joker to be in charge. He needs to be entertained, so he holds a tournament where contestants are forced to fight to the death, Hunger Games style, just so he can sit back and laugh at the carnage. It's a classic Joker move. What's wild is that this ending feels like it could easily fit into a darker alternate Earth storyline in the comics. Joker taking control and running a deathmatch tournament sounds like something straight out of Injustice: Gods Among Us, only more chaotic, less structured. And if you win, you fight the Joker himself, which means that even after all the bloodshed, he's still the final boss in his own twisted game. This ending perfectly captures who Joker is: unpredictable, unhinged, and always in control of the madness.
As the worlds separated, the Joker discovered he had retained his new powers. With them, he soon controlled all of Gotham, proclaiming himself Mayor Joker. Under his rule, the city devolved into chaos. He now holds a tournament in which contestants are forced to fight to the death for his amusement. The winner will face off against the Joker himself.
Now let's talk about the master thief herself, Catwoman. During her chaotic trip between dimensions, Catwoman doesn't just land in a new universe. She gets hit with a surge of magic that changes her forever. We're talking full transformation powers now, turning her into a literal Black Panther at will. And if you know Selina Kyle, then you know she's all about freedom, finesse, and staying one step ahead. This upgrade just makes her more dangerous than ever. With her new abilities, Catwoman's already impressive agility and strength get a serious boost. No more rooftop chases where she barely escapes. Now she's the one hunting. What makes this ending hit is how it taps into her core theme. She's always been someone who refuses to be caged, owned, or controlled. And now, with this Panther form, that symbolism becomes literal. She's not just a cat burglar anymore, she's a predator. This ending is simple but effective. It doesn't lean into some huge world-altering plot, but it changes Catwoman in a way that feels earned and still within character. She doesn't become a hero, doesn't go full villain. She becomes something more primal, more independent, and honestly, that's a fitting evolution for someone who's always danced between the lines of right and wrong.
Having been infused with the power of magic during her teleportation to the alternate universe, Catwoman found that she could transform at will into a Black Panther. Her increased strength and agility made her a cat that would never again be caged.
Now let's talk about the Speed Force with the Flash. Now, this ending adds a clever little twist that really fits Flash's character. He's fast, sure, but here he becomes something even more important: connected. Thanks to Liu Kang's aura attunement, Flash doesn't just go back to universe unchanged. Instead, he ends up with a psychic bond to Liu Kang, forming a cross-dimensional hotline between two warriors who respect each other. It's a cool nod to how both heroes, while from wildly different worlds, recognize a bigger picture. The setup here is interesting because it gives Flash a new kind of responsibility. He's no longer just running laps around Central City. He's on the front lines guarding against future interdimensional threats. When Liu Kang appears to warn him of Quan Chi's return, it feels like a subtle way of saying the story isn't over. Quan Chi is a big name in Mortal Kombat, and bringing him into the Flash's world opens a lot of chaotic possibilities. What makes this ending solid is that it keeps Flash true to form. He's always been the guy who builds bridges, connects with others, and responds fast when danger calls. Now he's got a mystical tether to another realm and a warning system that might save worlds. It doesn't just reinvent him, but it gives him a new lane to run in, and it shows just how much bigger the fight could get next time.
As a result of Liu Kang's aura attunement, the Flash discovered he had retained a psychic bond with the warrior. The two agreed to warn each other of any cross-universal breaches. It wasn't long until Liu Kang appeared before the Flash, warning him of an impending attack by the sorcerer Quan Chi.
Now let's talk about the Man of Steel himself, Superman. His ending actually makes a lot of sense, not just for his character, but for the broader DC universe. After getting humbled by magic throughout the story, Superman doesn't just walk it off like it was nothing. He adapts. He seeks out Captain Marvel, someone who understands magic better than anyone in his inner circle, and together they craft a suit that gives him resistance to mystical attacks. And it's not just smart, it's growth. What makes this even more interesting is how it ties ancient Kryptonian lore into the mix. It's a reminder that even Superman's origins still have untapped potential. By blending that forgotten Kryptonian knowledge with Captain Marvel's magic, this ending gives us a Superman who isn't a powerhouse. He's evolving, he's learning, adjusting, and making sure that what hurt him once doesn't hurt him again. It's less about throwing harder punches and more about not getting caught off guard. And let's be real, this is a comeback Superman needed. After getting tossed around by magic users, this new armor puts him back in the fight with the serious edge. Sorcerers, demons, mystical threats. Now they've got something to worry about. It's a clean arc. He went from exposed to aware to protected. It might not change who he is at core, but it shows he's still got room to level up.
After his encounter with the invaders and their magical powers, Superman knew he was vulnerable to similar assaults in the future. With the aid of the wizard Shazam, he applied ancient Kryptonian lore to the creation of a new costume, giving him resistance to magic. Attacks by sorcerers and demons now have no effect on the Man of Steel.
Now let's get into Princess Diana, Wonder Woman. Her ending cranks up that mythological energy to the next level. After all that Crossroad madness, she doesn't just ride off into the sunset. She returns home and levels up hard. Ancient relics, an amulet, a sword, and a shield start glowing with unknown energy. And just like that, Wonder Woman taps into powers that even the Greek gods didn't hand down. It's a flex, but a classy one, which makes this work in a way that blends mysticism with muscle. Diana has always been that bridge between mortal gift and divine energy, but now she's touching something older, maybe even more dangerous than Olympus itself. This isn't just Wonder Woman getting buff, it's her becoming a force of nature. And she's not rolling solo either. Her Amazon sisters get powered up too, making Themyscira less of a hidden paradise and more of a living fortress. This ending doesn't just upgrade her, it evolves her. She's not just a warrior or a princess anymore. She's a myth in motion. And next time the realms clash into each other, she won't be defending Earth. She'll be leading the charge like a goddess of war. That sword ain't just for show.
Returning to Themyscira, Wonder Woman learned that strange relics had been found scattered across the island. A sword, a shield, and a golden amulet, all pulsing with energy. Compelled to equip herself with the items, she was infused with powers beyond those bestowed upon her by the Greek gods. She and her Amazons are now unstoppable as they fight for the preservation of Earth.
Now let's talk about Deathstroke, the man who always sees 3 moves ahead with only one eye. His ending is peak Slade. Cold, calculated, and profitable. When the crisis is over, most people breathe a sigh of relief. Not him. He's already thinking about what comes next. He sees potential rivals from another realm and does what any true tactician would. He makes sure no one ever gets close again. Thus, Deathstrike Clan is born. A whole squad of killers molded in his image. This hits all of Deathstroke's trademarks: strategy over chaos, control over ego. It's not about flashy vengeance or some redemption arc. This is a power constellation, creating a legacy built on precision and fear. Slade doesn't want to be a legend, he wants to be a franchise. And if that means training a small army of elite assassins to preserve his brand, so be it. It also fits right in with Mortal Kombat's world of rival clans and hidden agendas. This is his Lin Kuei moment. Grandmaster Deathstroke isn't just securing his future, he's rewriting what it means to be an assassin. And if you thought one Deathstroke was bad news, imagine 20.
Deathstroke emerged from the inter-universal conflict both wiser and more cautious. Assassins from another universe would be unwanted competition. To maintain superiority, Deathstroke created a band of powerful assassins outfitted in his image. He now serves as Grand Master of this fearsome Deathstrike Clan.
Now let's talk about the man who's potentially going to be the next president of the United States, Lex Luthor. This is the man who saw an interdimensional crisis and said he can monetize this. His ending is textbook Lex. He hacks the special forces. He builds a portal, crosses into another universe, and links up with one of Mortal Kombat's most dangerous sorcerers, Quan Chi. This isn't a partnership, it's a super villain merger. We can even call this what it truly is. It's a deadly alliance. This isn't just fan service for Mortal Kombat diehards, it's a strategic nuke. Luthor brings the brains, the funding, and the cold ambition. Quan Chi brings dark arts, deception, and straight up a soul thief. That's science and sorcery fusing into something Earth is not ready for. They're not just after world domination. They want both realms on a leash, and they've got the tools to make it happen. And really, this is the most Lex Luthor thing ever. He doesn't fear power, he recruits it. He doesn't play catch up, he makes the rules. If you thought the story ended when Dark Khan fell, think again. With Luthor and Quan Chi teaming up, the real nightmare is just beginning.
Using data stolen from the Special Forces, Lex Luthor constructed his own portal and breached the barrier that separated the two universes. There he encountered the sorcerer Quan Chi. Their combined power, intelligence, and near omnipresence will be unstoppable. Both worlds will fall prey to this deadly alliance.
Let's get into Billy Batson, who's also known as Captain Marvel. His ending leans deep into his magical roots, but dials things up to a whole new level. After everything went down in the crossover, he's left shaken and searching for control. So he turns back to his mystical source, Shazam. But instead of just resetting the dial, the ritual throws him into something more cosmic, an encounter with the Elder Gods. That's not just a power-up, that's a whole new league. And here's where things get pretty crazy. The Elder Gods aren't just background lore, they're celestial heavyweights of the Mortal Kombat universe. So when a character like Captain Marvel, already powered up by 6 legendary figures, taps into their energy, that's next level. He's not operating on the same wavelength as Mortal Kombat's top tier gods like Raiden, Shinnok, or even Fujin. What makes this ending hit is the uncertainty. Captain Marvel isn't fully in control yet, and he's still standing on the edge of godhood, unsure of what comes next. That opens the door for a few conflicts, deeper arcs, and potential clashes across both universes. If he was already powerful, now he's dangerous, and that makes him a wild card in any future war between realms.
In order to regain control of his power, Captain Marvel was guided by the wizard Shazam through a focusing ritual. At its apex, Captain Marvel unexpectedly visited a strange ethereal world, finding himself face to face with godlike beings calling themselves the Elder Gods. Now able to tap into these gods' powers, Captain Marvel has new abilities he is only just beginning to master.
Now let's shift gears to Hal Jordan, our cosmic cop, the Power Ring. Green Lantern's ending wastes no time getting back to the high-stakes territory. On some distant planet, a mysterious pyramid erupts from the ground, radiating the same strange energy tied to the dimensional rift. Green Lantern knows what that means. Another breach, another threat, and just like that, he's back in action. He's ready to stand between chaos and order once again. But where Green Lantern goes, Sinestro is never far behind. The second this energy signature pops up, Sinestro sees it as his next big power grab. That immediately kicks off a race between Corps, a multiversal arms race with Green Lantern trying to contain the unknown, while Sinestro wants to control it. The conflict feels bigger than ever, especially with remnants of Mortal Kombat's reality in the mix. What makes this ending stick is the way it merges sci-fi and mysticism. Green Lantern stories usually lean tech-heavy and galactic, but this twist adds a layer of mystery to the mix. Now Green Lantern's got to keep the peace in a universe where pyramids shoot magic and reality bends like light. It's a perfect blend of both franchises and a setup to what could easily carry into a larger multiverse-wide crisis.
On a distant planet, a huge pyramid unexpectedly rose from beneath the ground. Its origin was unknown, but it seemed to emanate energy similar to what Batman detected from the invading universe. Green Lantern's nemesis, Sinestro, has learned of the pyramid's existence and is eager to acquire whatever secret it might contain. Hal Jordan knows only that its energy is dangerous, and that the Green Lantern Corps must stop the Sinestro Corps at any cost.
Now let's talk about the Lord of Apocalypse himself, Darkseid. His ending wastes no time reminding you who's really in charge. Imprisoned in the Netherrealm, you'd think he'd be at his lowest, but then Shang Tsung, thinking he's about to snatch the soul of a god, steps in and gets humbled hard. Darkseid flips the ritual on his head, drains Shang dry, and walks away more powerful than ever. This is classic Darkseid energy. Even when he's down, he's never out. He doesn't plead, he doesn't break, he takes over, and now, with Shang Tsung's magic fused into his already godlike power, Darkseid becomes something much more dangerous, a tyrant powered by both new god tech and Mortal Kombat sorcery. That's nightmare fuel for the two entire universes. It's a chilling and fitting close for the character. Not only does he win, but he absorbs the tools of his enemies and ascends even higher. With Shang Tsung now groveling at his feet, Darkseid isn't just back, he's evolved. If there would have ever been a sequel, this is the boss you would build the whole story around. The war may be over for now, but with Darkseid, the conquest never ends.
Imprisoned in the Netherrealm, Darkseid was left vulnerable. Shang Tsung attempted to steal Darkseid's soul, a source of immense power. In the midst of the magical assault, however, Darkseid reversed the soul drain, reducing Shang Tsung to a withered old man. Empowered by Shang Tsung's magic, Darkseid broke free of his bonds. Shang Tsung hastily pledged allegiance to Darkseid in an attempt to spare his own life.
Now that we covered all the DC characters, let's talk about the Mortal Kombat ones. Starting with Scorpion. Scorpion has always been one of Mortal Kombat's most tragic yet fearsome characters, and in Mortal Kombat vs. DC, that vengeance-driven edge remains razor sharp. Once a proud member of the Shirai Ryu, Scorpion's life was shattered when the Elder Sub-Zero wiped out his clan and family. His soul couldn't rest, and thanks to Quan Chi, he was resurrected as a Spectre for revenge. While he took the Elder Sub-Zero's life from Mortal Kombat, his hatred didn't die there. It transformed to the younger Sub-Zero, who dared to wear the mantle of the brother Scorpion had already slain. The flame that fuels him isn't justice, it's personal. Now, with the events of this crossover behind him, Scorpion's ending takes a dark cosmic twist. Although Dark Khan was defeated, his essence, purge rage and evil, needed a new vessel. It found one in Scorpion, a warrior already overflowing with vengeance and agony. It's not a coincidence. Out of every fighter, Scorpion was already walking the line between man and monster. The idea that this pain and hatred could make him the perfect host is chilling, but it also is kind of fitting. Scorpion is no stranger to hellish transformations. This ending leaves us with a version of Scorpion who potentially is more dangerous than ever. Not just a reverend, not just a killer for Quan Chi, but now a being on the brink of becoming something universal. The question isn't whether he survives the transformation, it's what happens if he does. This isn't the Scorpion that yells, "Get over here." This is Scorpion possibly ascending into a dark god, shaped by torment, rage, and cosmic power. And honestly, that makes him one of the most terrifying what-if scenarios in Mortal Kombat history.
Though Dark Khan was defeated, his consciousness lived on. The Dark Lord's power and maliciousness found the perfect host in the body of the wrathful Scorpion. In the midst of his agony, Scorpion knew that he would soon be the most powerful creature in the universe, if he survived the transformation.
Sub-Zero has always walked the line between legacy and individuality. As a younger brother who inherited the title after his sibling was slain by Scorpion, he entered the Mortal Kombat tournament not just as a warrior, but as a man burdened by blood ties and clan expectations. While loyal to the Lin Kuei, his conscience often put him at odds with their ruthless methods. He was never fully at ease in the role of an assassin. His internal conflict wasn't just about who he fought for, but why he fought at all. This Sub-Zero isn't a cold-blooded killer. He's a man quietly searching for purpose in a world where loyalty is expected but rarely earned. That search reaches a turning point after the World Merge crisis. Fighting side by side with heroes during the conflict forces Sub-Zero to reevaluate everything. He no longer fits the mold of assassin, and he doesn't see himself fully aligning with Earthrealm's protectors either. Inspired by someone on the DC side, potentially Batman, who operates outside the system, Sub-Zero decides it's time to redefine himself on his terms. He crafts a new identity, dons a new outfit, and chooses the path of a lone guardian. He's not turning his back on Earthrealm. He's stepping into a role that lets him protect it without the political moral baggage of the Lin Kuei. But as the ending reminds us, breaking away from a clan like the Lin Kuei doesn't come without consequences. They don't hand out retirement packages, they send death squads. Sub-Zero may have found clarity, but he also has put a target on his back. Still, this marks a major turning point for the character. He's no longer just the younger brother or the ninja from the Ice Clan. He's something more dangerous, a free man with a mission. And in Mortal Kombat, that's the kind of warrior you really have to watch out for.
Fighting alongside the forces of light during the World Merge crisis, Sub-Zero came to a realization. He was no longer the assassin he had been, nor was he comfortable among the self-proclaimed defenders of Earthrealm. Inspired by one of the invaders, Sub-Zero decided he would work for the good of the realm, but on his own terms. He would be a mostly solitary figure, blending in with the dark and the cold. Sub-Zero left the Lin Kuei and donned a new costume befitting this new endeavor. But the Lin Kuei do not tolerate desertion, as he will soon discover.
Sonya Blade has always been a soldier who operated on instinct, but it was the chaos of Mortal Kombat that opened her eyes to a much bigger battlefield. What started as a mission to track down Kano turned into a lifetime of defending Earthrealm from threats she never knew existed. The encounter with Liu Kang and Raiden shifted her purpose from local law enforcement to global and even interdimensional protection. She didn't just adapt into the madness, she took charge. With Jax by her side, she helped turn the special forces into a frontline defense against the bizarre and the impossible. But even Sonya wasn't ready for the world merge crisis. The multiversal war didn't just test her resolve, it rewrote the rules. Her ending drops a massive twist. She becomes the bearer of a Green Lantern ring. It's symbolic in a way. A warrior always known for her willpower now literally wields it. But unlike a full-fledged lantern, Sonya only gets one shot, one charge, and one chance to act. That pressure, that responsibility reflects how she's grown from a hot-headed agent into someone who thinks beyond the mission. She's not just fighting for Earth anymore, she's thinking like a guardian of the entire world. It also puts her in a position where everyday decisions matters more than ever. She's always been tactical, but now every move she makes could be her last. And for a character built around her, never backing down, having that kind of power with such limitations adds a whole new layer. Sonya didn't just survive the merge, she evolved. Now she's not just a soldier, she's a symbol.
During the World Merge crisis, a member of the Green Lantern Corps was killed. At the moment of his death, his power ring traveled to Sonya, taking her as its new master. When the worlds were once again separated, the ring stayed with her. Now she has the ultimate weapon, but only one charge. She must use the ring sparingly until she can find a way to replenish its power.
Shang Tsung has always been one of the most manipulative and dangerous forces in the Mortal Kombat universe. A master sorcerer, a soul thief. His entire existence is centered around consuming the strength of others while serving his own dark ambition. His loyalty to those like Shao Kahn is conditional at best. He serves Emperor but only to reclaim his status and crush the man who embarrassed him, Liu Kang. Every loss he takes is just a blow to his pride. It fuels his obsession. And after all these years, he still hasn't let go of the shame of his defeat. Now, in a multiverse-shattering crisis like the one in this game, Shang Tsung sees opportunity. Getting beaten by Captain Marvel doesn't humble him, it enrages him, and that fury fuels one of the wildest outcomes in the game. In true Shang Tsung fashion, he decides to clone his enemy, but not through science, through black magic. By fusing a piece of Captain Marvel's cape with Tarkatan corpses, he creates something horrific, a super Tarkatan. That's vintage Shang Tsung. If he can't beat you, he'll corrupt your essence and weaponize it. What makes this ending hit harder is how it plays on Shang Tsung's core themes of imitation, mutation, and domination. He doesn't just want to win, he wants to decorate his enemies. Creating an army that mocks the image of a DC hero like Captain Marvel is exactly the kind of chaotic flex Shang Tsung would pull. It's not just about power, it's about spectacle and spite. And now, with a horde of monstrous hybrids on his command, he might finally have what he needs to step out of Shao Kahn's shadow and become a threat to the realms or far beyond.
Impressed with Captain Marvel's fighting ability, but angered by his defeat at the hero's hands, Shang Tsung sought to create a race of super warriors. They would have Captain Marvel's abilities, but would be a perversion of the hero's image. Through sorcery, he combined blood from a torn piece of Captain Marvel's cape with the flesh of a Tarkatan corpse. Never before had his flesh pits echoed with the roar of such a monstrosity. With an army of super Tarkatans, Shang Tsung will be invincible.
Kitana's journey has always been about reclaiming what was stolen from her people, her realm, and herself. As the Princess of Edenia, she lived under Shao Kahn's thumb, watching her home twisted into a tool of war. But in Mortal Kombat vs. DC, we see her once again fighting on the front lines, not just as a noble woman, but as a warrior determined to break the cycle of invasion. She doesn't just fight for Edenia anymore, she fights for the balance between worlds, standing with Liu Kang and Raiden against this multiversal threat. Her ending feels like a quiet victory in a world filled with chaos. After the destruction caused by the world merge, she doesn't return to a throne or palace, she rebuilds it from scratch. Seeking refuge in Earthrealm, she turns Shang Tsung's old battleground into a place of peace, repurposing a space once drenched in blood into a new sanctuary for Edenian survivors. It's a powerful contrast, transforming a site of death into one of life, and giving her people a chance to heal beyond the shadows of Outworld. Naming it Argus Island is more than just symbolism, it's a spiritual reset. Argus, the god of Edenia, represents order and protection. By evoking his name, Kitana shows she's not just reclaiming territory, she's restoring identity. While others sought power or revenge after the crossover war, Kitana sought peace. And in a franchise built on violence and vengeance, that makes her ending stand out as one of the most dignified and heartfelt.
With no base of operations after their devastating losses in Outworld, Kitana sought asylum in Earthrealm for her surviving Edenian resistance fighters. Raiden granted them Shang Tsung's abandoned island, where they would remain hidden from mortal eyes. Kitana and her warriors remade the former site of the Mortal Kombat tournament into a bastion of beauty and light. To honor the god of Edenia, they renamed their new home Argus Island.
Jax has always represented the fusion of grit and tech in the Mortal Kombat universe. As a military man first and foremost, his mission has always been clear: protect Earthrealm at all costs. But after witnessing firsthand the chaos unleashed by otherworldly threats, he knew standard military protocol wasn't going to cut it. That's when he stepped up, creating the Outworld Investigation Agency with Sonya Blade to track and confront these new interdimensional enemies. Jax didn't just adapt, he evolved into something stronger and more prepared than ever. But his ending takes the evolution to a dark and tragic extreme. After suffering near fatal injuries during the World Merge crisis, Jax made the decision to undergo radical cybernetic enhancement, replacing most of his human anatomy with mechanized parts. This wasn't just a power-up, it was survival. It's a classic Mortal Kombat move: gain strength, but at a steep price. And in Jax's case, that price was his humanity. He may be stronger, faster, and more durable, but there's a looming question: what's left of the man beneath the metal? This ending speaks volumes about Jax's character. He's a soldier to the end, willing to sacrifice anything, including pieces of himself, for the mission. But it also reflects the moral weight of being Earthrealm's defender in a universe where magic, gods, and monsters are part of the daily grind. Unlike others who chase power for dominance, Jax made his transformation out of necessity. Still, it leaves us wondering if the line between man and machine was worth crossing, or if this new form is just another kind of prison.
Badly injured in the melee with the otherworldly invaders, Jax knew he must enhance his cybernetics to save his own life. He underwent massive anatomical restructuring, replacing most of his body with mechanized, fully armored versions. Jax is now more powerful than ever, but at the cost of his humanity.
Liu Kang has always stood as the golden child of Earthrealm, a warrior monk who time and time again answered the call when the realms were threatened. He beat Shang Tsung, he stopped Shao Kahn's invasion, and even after all that, he humbly returned to the Wuxi Academy, ready to sharpen his skills for the next battle. He's the kind of character who never seeks glory but always earns it, making him one of Mortal Kombat's most grounded and heroic fighters. But with realms colliding and magic spiraling out of control, peace never lasts long for Liu Kang. His ending takes a hard turn into godlike territory. Raiden, always the mentor figure, decides to take matters into his own hands and recreate something as powerful as the Rock of Eternity. That's right, he infuses Liu Kang not just with his own lightning charged power, but the strength of other gods alike Argus and Fujin. And with just one phrase, Mortal Kombat, Liu Kang turns into a divine powerhouse. It's a wild upgrade and a rare moment where Liu Kang becomes something beyond a chosen champion. He becomes a living embodiment of the Mortal Kombat legacy. This shift is both exciting and symbolic. Liu Kang has always represented balance, discipline, and the will of Earthrealm. By becoming a figure akin to Captain Marvel, but with Elder God energy, he evolves into more than just a fighter. He's a guardian deity now. But this transformation also raises the stakes. Can someone with so much power stay grounded? Will shouting Mortal Kombat feel like a sacred call or just another super move? Either way, Liu Kang's journey from monk to mythic protector reminds us that he's always been destined for more.
Through intense study, Raiden was able to unlock the secrets of the Rock of Eternity and determine its function. He decided to emulate it and create a Captain Marvel of Earthrealm. Raiden infused Liu Kang with his own power as well as the abilities of his fellow gods Argus, Fujin, and others. In order to transform himself into a being of unstoppable power, Liu Kang need only shout Mortal Kombat.
Raiden has always been the steady hand guiding Earthrealm through chaos. As a god of thunder, he's not just a fighter, he's a symbol of protection, wisdom, and divine responsibility. Throughout the Mortal Kombat saga, Raiden rallies warriors, warns them of cataclysmic danger, and often sacrifices personal power to preserve the balance of the realms. In this game, Raiden stands firm once again, holding the line as reality itself begins to collapse. But like any good protector, he's not immune to the cost of war, especially one that reaches across dimensions. What makes Raiden's ending so intriguing is its vulnerability. Returning home, he finds that even a god isn't immune to the sun's draining effects. That's when Quan Chi steps in, tempting him with a mysterious jade-colored stone, a power source capable of restoring Raiden's strength. But of course, it comes with a catch: loyalty to Quan Chi. This moment forces Raiden into a classic Mortal Kombat dilemma. It's not just a battle of fists anymore, it's a moral crossroads. Serve evil to maintain power, or reject the offer and face mortality. This ending leans heavily into Raiden's ongoing inner conflict, the burden of leadership versus the personal cost of righteousness. He's a god, but here he's caught in a very human decision. The story subtly asks, what happens when the Guardian needs saving? Raiden's arc in this game doesn't end with triumph or defeat, it ends with uncertainty. And what makes it powerful, it's a perfect setup for the idea that even the most divine warriors can be tested, not just in battle, but in principle.
As the interdimensional conflict ended, Raiden returned to Earthrealm, only to discover that exposure to his homeworld's sun weakened him greatly. The sorcerer Quan Chi offered Raiden a jade-colored stone that would replenish his power in return for his sworn allegiance. Where Quan Chi acquired this stone is a mystery. Raiden must now decide between servitude to an evil sorcerer or mortality.
Kano has always walked the line between chaos and control. As a longtime member of the Black Dragon, he thrives on lawlessness, and aligning himself with Shao Kahn was just another step in trading morals for power. What separates Kano from most villains in the Mortal Kombat universe isn't just his brutality, it's his unpredictability. He doesn't fight for ideology or realm loyalty. He fights for profit, for pleasure, and most of all, for himself. And that selfishness eventually catches up to him. In his ending, we see the long-term effects of combat rage twist his mind beyond repair. Even after Dark Khan's defeated, the residual energy warps Kano permanently. He becomes a feral version of his former self, no longer a mercenary with a purpose, but a madman haunted by hallucinations. It's not subtle either. His physical transformation, the face paint, the constant muttering. This is Mortal Kombat's way of showing us that some characters don't walk away from a crossover unchanged. This isn't redemption or revenge. This is descent. What's most disturbing about this ending is how Kano becomes obsessed with Shang Tsung, repeating his name like a broken record. There's no context given for the hatred, which makes it more unsettling. It implies that Kano doesn't fully understand what's happening to him. He's just lost in rage and has no off switch. It's a tragic fall, but also a fitting one. In a game where balance is constantly tested, Kano's story is a warning. When you dance too close to madness for too long, eventually it drags you under.
Though the combat rage completely disappeared once Dark Khan was defeated, it drove Kano irreversibly mad. Turning on friend and foe alike, he became an outcast. Kano's appearance changed as well. He has painted his face to further express his seething anger. Alone in the depths of insanity, Kano endlessly repeats, "Death to Shang Tsung! Death to Shang Tsung! Death to Shang Tsung!"
Baraka has always been the raw, untamed side of Mortal Kombat. As a Tarkatan, he represents pure savagery, but what separates him from the rest of his kind is his loyalty to Shao Kahn and his personal ambition. He's not just a mindless soldier, he's a butcher with a purpose. Serving as one of Shao Kahn's personal enforcers, Baraka was a symbol of intimidation and brute force. And when his master fell during the invasion, his mission became personal. Vengeance was now his guiding flame. In his ending, the narrative takes a terrifying turn. While the combat rage left most characters once the universe separated, it clung to the Tarkatans. But rather than consume them into madness like it did with Kano, it enhanced what was already there: bloodlust, savagery, and an appetite for chaos. For Baraka and his people, rage became a permanent upgrade. They didn't just survive the conflict, they evolved into an even deadlier force. The blood markings on their foreheads aren't just tribal paint. They're warnings to any realm foolish enough to challenge them. What makes Baraka's ending so impactful is that it doesn't tease redemption or hint at a deeper motivation. It doubles down on what makes him and his race terrifying. There's no peace for the Tarkatans. Instead, they become conquerors in their own right, storming through the realms unchecked. Baraka didn't just walk away from the events of this crossover stronger, he walked away empowered, and for anyone left standing, that should be a major problem.
As the worlds returned to normal, the combat rage dissipated in its victims, except the Tarkatans. Through the rage, the savage outworld race has descended to an even greater level of bloodlust. Marking their foreheads with the blood of their enemies, they now storm throughout the realms, dominating all.
Shao Kahn has always been one of Mortal Kombat's most iconic villains. Arrogant, commanding, and absolutely relentless in his pursuit of domination. His obsession with conquering Earthrealm has led him to defy the rules of the other gods time and time again. Even when he's defeated, it's never the end. Shao Kahn is that kind of threat that always finds a way back. By the time of Mortal Kombat vs. DC, he's already been ripped apart by his own portal, but deep down, we all knew he wasn't done yet. His ending flips the script in a terrifying way. Instead of being weakened by his imprisonment in the Phantom Zone, like most Kryptonian villains, Shao Kahn becomes stronger. It's like the Phantom Zone recharged him, giving him a power boost rather than a punishment. That alone would be bad enough, but the twist is that he doesn't leave alone. Freed alongside him are countless interdimensional criminals who now swear loyalty to him out of gratitude. And with that, Shao Kahn in charge of an army of multiversal war criminals. That's a full-scale invasion waiting to happen. This ending works because it reinforces what fans already know. Shao Kahn doesn't just want victory, he wants total conquest. It's a classic power fantasy for a villain that thrives on domination and fear, and now he's taken his ambitions beyond just Outworld or Earthrealm. With new soldiers at his back and power and power flowing through him, Shao Kahn's reach now threatens every universe. Once again, he shows us why he's not just a villain, but the villain.
Defeated, Shao Kahn was imprisoned in the Phantom Zone, used for holding dangerous Kryptonian villains because of its ability to render them powerless. Possibly due to the magical nature of his strength, however, the Phantom Zone had the opposite effect on Shao Kahn. Instead of neutralizing him, it revitalized the Emperor, allowing him to break free. With him are untold numbers of criminals released from millennia of imprisonment. Grateful, they have sworn allegiance to Shao Kahn and now follow him on his quest to conquer the universes.
Now, let's talk about the gameplay of Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe. This game marked a drastic shift from where Mortal Kombat was during the PS2 era. Just like Ed Boon promised, 3 fighting styles from the previous games were removed. Instead, each character on both the Mortal Kombat and DC sides was given one distinct fighting style, making the gameplay more focused and easier to pick up. One of the game's most notable features is its story mode, which is playable from 2 different perspectives, one from the DC Universe side and the other one from the Mortal Kombat side. Both are split into chapters with each focusing on a different character. What makes this system interesting is that depending on the side you choose, your characters view the opposing universe as the invaders. That framing helps ground the crossover conflict and adds a bit of immersion. Originally, players were meant to play as every character in the story mode, but some arcs were cut during development. A few characters unfortunately didn't get their own chapters, which left certain perspectives underdeveloped. Still, it was a solid early take on narrative-driven gameplay, and it laid the groundwork for how story modes and fighting games would evolve, especially in future Mortal Kombat titles. The game also includes a combo challenge, a mode where players attempt to perform 10 preset combos of increasing difficulty. It's a fun test of skill and a nice bonus for those looking to really master a character's moveset. Now, when it comes to actual fighting, the engine received a major upgrade. Combat is smoother and more fluid than past iterations. The introduction of Rage Mode brings a unique layer to matches. When activated, you become immune to hit reactions and gain a boost in strength. But there's a catch. If both players activate Rage Mode, the effects cancel out your defense again, and you're back to trading heavy hits. It adds a bit of strategy to win and how you trigger it. The game also introduces 2 new interactive mechanics: Free-fall combat and close quarters combat. Free-fall combat lets you knock your opponent off a ledge and continue fighting midair as both characters plummet through the environment. It might seem like a gimmick, but it actually plays well and adds the visual variety to the match. Close quarters combat is a more grounded minigame. It zooms in, puts both characters in a clinch, and lets you battle it out up close. Both of these systems use button prompts, and if your opponent presses the same button as you, the attack gets negated, and the damage you tried to deal gets flipped back on you. It's a simple system, but it adds a layer of mind games to close encounters. Overall, Mortal Kombat vs. DC made some bold changes to the core fighting formula. While not everything landed perfectly, the gameplay systems included here will go on to influence the series' direction in big ways. This game also included a few fun callbacks to classic Mortal Kombat minigames. One of the standout examples is the updated Test Your Might system. Here you basically button mash your opponent through buildings, causing structural damage as you go. It shows that even during a big crossover, the developers were still trying to bring back the legacy mechanics in fresh ways. Arcade mode also makes a return, and with it we get to see how each character's individual story ends. Now, the game doesn't follow a thorough, fully fleshed out continuity, but it does offer a glimpse into where these characters' arcs might be heading. The setup includes a standard 10-fight ladder, but instead of the sub-boss being a Shao Kahn warrior or a Centaurian warrior like in past games, you face off against either Shao Kahn or Darkseid, with the final boss being Dark Khan himself. What's interesting is that Shao Kahn and Darkseid, who usually are the final bosses in their respective franchises, are now the second to last fights. It's a pretty wild switch up from fans who grew up with these titans as in-game threats. Now, where this game really surprises people is with its approach to fatalities. They're here, but they're heavily toned down. Gone are the decapitations, dismemberments, and excessive gore. Instead, fatalities have been simplified to things like incinerations. Blood is still present, but pulled way back compared to past entries. In older Mortal Kombat games, we had full-on blood pools, stage fatalities, and brutal traps. Here you're looking at about 10% of that, and that's because the game was going for a T rating instead of M. Mortal Kombat characters still get fatalities, but they're restrained. And when it comes to the DC heroes, they don't get fatalities at all. Instead, they are given something called heroic brutalities. Now, to my OG Mortal Kombat fans, y'all know that brutality used to mean opening up a stone cold can of whoop ass and literally exploding your opponent into a pile of bones. That's not what we get here. DC heroes do not kill, so instead their heroic brutalities are more like powerful knockouts that maintain their moral codes. On the other hand, DC villains like Joker, Catwoman, and Deathstroke do get fatalities, and they actually fit the tone of those characters, even though they're still toned down to meet the teen rating standards. Now, this game was originally meant to have more content. Like I mentioned earlier, I truly believe this game was rushed. And one of the biggest reasons for that is Quan Chi not being playable and the complete lack of DLC. Now keep in mind, this was Mortal Kombat's first outing on the PS3, so it was a transitional period for the series. From what I gathered, there were real plans to expand the game after the launch. In an interview, I came across Ed Boon, who even posted a picture of a new character on Twitter and said, "We're just about done, but I'm doubtful that new fighters will appear in the game." That right there confirms it. They were close, but it never happened. So here's the thing. There's both a positive and a negative when it comes to this game's gameplay. At its core, compared to other Mortal Kombat titles, it's pretty bare bones. You got your story mode, you got your standard arcade ladder, and a so-so combo challenge. That's about it. And while that might be fine for a quick playthrough, it's clear the game was marketed more towards teenagers than longtime fans who expected something deeper. What I always wonder is, what if this game had more time and support? Could we have gotten chess combat, puzzle combat, or even motor combat included? Those modes gave previous games an extra bit of replayability. Without online functionality, especially in today's era, you're really limited in what you can do here. But if you were a teen or a younger player, this might have still felt like a worthwhile experience, even with its limitations. Upon release, Mortal Kombat vs. DC received mixed to positive reviews. Critics praised the crossover concept, calling it an entertaining and fresh take on seeing iconic characters from both franchises go head-to-head. The game was commended for making strong use of the DC license and introducing a cinematic story mode that, while a bit far-fetched, was still a fun ride. But the praise wasn't without its pushback. Longtime Mortal Kombat fans weren't too happy about the toned-down violence. Due to the game's teen rating and DC's involvement, fatalities were significantly less graphic. DC heroes didn't even get fatalities, just heroic brutalities, which rubbed some fans the wrong way and felt like a major step back from the series' brutal identity. Beyond that, critics noted that the game lacked the depth of earlier Mortal Kombat entries. Some of the new mechanics like close combat and free-fall combat were considered more gimmicky than game-changing, slowing down the action rather than elevating it. That said, the story mode stood out as a highlight. Many enjoyed its comic book style writing and presentation, even if the narrative wasn't especially deep. There were some complaints about character balance and the story mode being too short, but overall the crossover appeal carried a lot of weight. Commercially, the game did very well, shipping nearly 2 million copies, making it one of Midway's most successful releases in years. It was the most pre-ordered Mortal Kombat title at the time and earned nominations for both Fighting Game of the Year and Outstanding Achievement in an Adapted Story at the Interactive Achievement Awards. For the average gamer, Mortal Kombat vs. DC landed with a mixed but mostly lukewarm reception. The crossover concept was definitely the big draw. People loved the idea of pitting Mortal Kombat fighters against DC iconic heroes and villains, and the game's visuals were a nice surprise. Torn costumes, bruises, and expressive character models added some grit to the fights. The combat system blending 2D and 3D elements felt like a return to basics, and many players found the combo system fun and challenging enough to keep them engaged early on. But not everything landed well. The biggest complaint? Toned down violence. Longtime fans of the game weren't thrilled of the team rating and DC's restrictions. Fatalities felt nerfed, and instead of full-blown finishes, people were still against the heroic fatalities. That didn't quite deliver the same punch as the fatalities, though. But for many, this took a core part of what made Mortal Kombat feel like Mortal Kombat. The limited roster didn't help either. With only 20 playable characters, the game felt smaller in scale than past entries. The lack of unlockables, minigames, and other extra features also made the game feel bare bones. Even though the story mode was cinematic and decently written, some players didn't like being forced to play as specific characters. They wanted to stick with their favorites, not bounce around the roster chapter by chapter. Replayability was another sore spot. Once the story and arcade modes were done, there wasn't much left to do. The combo challenge was meant to add some post-game content, but most players found it more frustrating than fun, with little reward for all the effort. Some even felt the game was stuck in the middle. Too much DC holding it back from being a great MK game, and too much MK holding it back from being a great DC game. And Mortal Kombat vs. DC was seen as a fun one-off experiment. It had cool moments and an exciting premise, but it left a lot of players wanting more. More violence, more content, more of what made both franchises special in the first place. Now, let me be honest. I think this game was one of the most important Mortal Kombat titles ever released. Why? Because of what came after it. This was the last game before Midway was sold to Warner Bros., and in many ways, it laid the foundation of what Mortal Kombat would become. Without Mortal Kombat vs. DC, we don't get the cinematic story mode structure that Mortal Kombat 9, Injustice, and even MK11 all built on. This game crawled so those games could run. Now, sure, this game played it safe. The story and character roster avoided bigger risks, and in hindsight, especially after seeing what Injustice did later, it's clear just how toned down this game really was. I mean, the first scene in Injustice is Superman killing the Joker. That was a far cry from the restrained PG-13 vibe MK vs. DC had. But let's not forget, this was 2008. Back then, DC was still protective of its heroes. Fast forward a bit, and now we've got the DC animated universe, Flashpoint, and alternate timeline that explore way darker things. Back then, they weren't ready, but they got there. What stings the most is how much potential this story had. Imagine something like Lin Kuei vs. League of Assassins, or Scorpion becoming the new Ra's al Ghul. Those storylines write themselves. And let's be real, fighting Superman feels like a big deal. His powers are near godlike, and the only real threats for Mortal Kombat really should have been Raiden, Shang Tsung, Quan Chi, or Scorpion, because of their magic. But here, everyone's thrown hands like it's nothing. Yeah, you could say because of the whole rage mechanic system, but I can tell you right now, Superman still has an absurd amount of strength. Even if he's not as powerful, he should still be faster than most. And come on now, where is Johnny Cage? You mean to tell me Cage versus Batman wouldn't have been golden? Johnny Cage acting cocky like he's some Hollywood big shot, only to get humbled by the Dark Knight? The missed opportunities in this game are endless. But what really held the game back was the lack of true Mortal Kombat violence. No brutal decapitations, no spine rips, no stage fatalities, just toned down finishers and a few heroic brutalities. I get they were going for a T rating, but that's not what Mortal Kombat was built on. It's the same thing that happened with Defenders of the Realm. Trying to take something mature and make it family friendly just doesn't always work. The fans came for the violence, the shock, and the edge. That's what made Mortal Kombat stand out. Even Ed Boon admitted the original pitch for this game was darker and grittier, and while I respect the effort, the final product didn't hit the mark. The game lacked bite, it played it safe, and that's ultimately where it stumbled. But even with all that said, I don't hate this game. I actually liked it when it came out. But let's be real, I was a kid and I liked Batman. And honestly, that's probably true for a lot of people. As an introduction to Mortal Kombat, it's not the strongest entry, but as a fun one-off, it's a solid time waster. Not in a bad way, just something you can play and zone out to. The story, it's average. The gameplay, stripped down. But this game mattered because it helped spawn something greater. Mortal Kombat didn't stay safe forever, and look at where the franchise is now. The legacy of this game is not what it was, but it is what it helped create. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much. I really enjoyed diving into the behind the scenes of this game. If you like what you saw, drop a thumbs up. It really helps with the algorithm. And if you're new here, consider subscribing. We're getting very close to 6K subs, and my goal is 10K this year. This Saturday, hopefully, I'm trying to get my schedule back on track. I'm dropping the Midnight Club 3 retrospective, and next Saturday, we're going in with Mortal Kombat 9, so keep an eye out. With that said, this is the Retro Phantom, signing out.